And I want everybody
That
to
was so-
keep that round of applause
Usually
going.
you say
Everyone keep-
clap.
I know, that was so bad. Why did you guys do that on 3 this time versus actually clapping afterwards? Oh, you've thrown me all off.
Okay,
You're doing
wait.
another one?
No, it's
when do we
live
do
now.
it?
It's fine.
Is it-
It's just gonna we're gonna sound like idiots.
Are we gonna be able to
yeah,
sync
I think
it?
so.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Jason is the
Are you
magician.
I'm
sure?
not sure.
can we do a third
For
for
safety, let's do it.
All right.
So we are going to do 3, 2, 1. I'm going to say clap, and we all
We
go
all
on clap.
Okay.
on clap. Like this is the first time
Okay.
we've done
Technically,
things
I'm not
differently
clapping.
in like 49 episodes.
I'm slamming a remote onto the table. Just
Okay, here we go. Hold up. My hands are a bit sweaty. I didn't clap very well the first time anyway. Okay,
Yeah,
everyone ready?
yeah.
3, 2, 1, clap. All right, and keep that round of applause going for Rushley Ranger, our guest here today. We are so excited to have him here. Rushley
Hello.
Ranger, congratulations, mate.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Welcome.
We have heard that you're a bit of a mountaineer. Would you like to...
Yep. So I went back to England and I climbed
A lot
a
of
mountain.
mountains in England,
No
huh?
big deal. Yeah. Well, yeah, got you quite a few actually. Not big, but well, when you're climbing, it feels big.
Sure.
Oh,
What
fucking
mountain
bet
is
does.
it?
It's all
What
on
was the
view.
name of this
I
mountain?
climbed Mam Tor, which translates from, I guess, Old English to New English, is Mother Hill. It
So you
says
climbed a
but-
hill?
No. On Google, I thought it was a hill, but on Google it says it's a mountain peak. So I'll
But
take
you just
that.
said it translated, like the actual origin name translates to hill.
Yeah,
Mother
but
Hill.
they didn't know what they were on about back in the olden days, did they?
Mantle?
It's a mountain.
Mantle?
Mam Tor.
Mamtor.
Mam means mother, and Tor means.
I've
well,
literally, I
hill,
just
apparently. But it's
want
a mountain.
to say, I just Googled this Mamtor, and the first thing that comes up is Mamtor is a hill in England.
No. It definitely is a mountain. Definitely is a mountain.
Well, what I would like to do, Rush, and the reason we brought you on the show here today, Jason has been preparing 7 mountaineering questions. Jason comes from quite the family of outdoorsmen,
really?
Rush. I don't know if you know. They like to do a bit of hiking. They like to go down by the lakes.
Nice.
A bit of camping. He's been involved in places where I have seen bear signs before. So Jason has prepared a quick quiz for you here today because we want to test your knowledge of mountaineering now that you've officially graduated from hill master to a mountain man.
Okay.
Go on.
What do you do when you encounter a brown bear in the wild?
Well, luckily in England we don't have too many brown bears to worry about. I would say there's a couple of little tiny dogs like Jack Russells, but I can take them on.
Sure.
Honestly.
Let's see. What kind of water purification system do you carry with you on these marches around your hills?
I usually buy a 1 liter bottle of Volvic. That usually gets me going, and I really like the taste of Volvic. Sometimes
Does it have to be Volvic?
I
Could it
like
be any
Volvic.
other brand?
No. I like Volvic. If I can choose,
We don't
I'll
like
pick
this.
Volvic.
We don't
Or
like to say
Pacini
brand
when I'm
names
in
on this
America.
podcast because they don't.
Oh,
you know,
shit.
we gotta keep that costly.
I like Volvic.
Sure.
Okay, so you've come up with a brand that sounds
Yeah,
like the brand.
yeah.
Okay, to not say
Or
the brand name.
Bassini.
Bassini.
Okay, so you
That's
buy
what
a
I'm-
bottle of
that's-
water, a 1 liter bottle of water.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm chugging that down.
Okay.
Okay. Do you?
We'll just go one more, Jason. I
Yeah,
overestimated
seven's
to nine.
quite a
7 to 9
bit.
seemed like a
3
lot.
seems like
Yeah,
a good,
yeah,
comfortable
yeah.
number.
3's good. 3's good.
What kind of strategy do you use for passing time on your long walks around the mountains of England?
Well, I can't even think honestly. Like I'm so
When you
knackered.
can't think when you're on the mountain, it's you.
I'm so tired. Like
Oh, okay. Is that
there's
because
a-
you focus
Is it
on the brown
oxygen
bears?
deprivation from the 517 meter hill?
I think it's more I'm just incredibly unhealthy. I guess that's more likely thing. But I was climbing it at one point. It was warm as well. It was a warm British summer day, so about 10 degrees Celsius, and my face was like pulsating, bro. It was like I couldn't believe it. I was like, my god. But once I got up the top, the endorphins are flowing. I was feeling really good. So I think I had a moment of clarity, but I didn't really
It's
think
the
about it.
straight injection of nature into your bloodstream.
It was good. It was nice. It was sunny and all.
Good.
This isn't why I brought Rush on the show today. Rush actually has something planned. But Janko, how did you feel about Rush's conviction in selling the fact that he is now a mountaineer?
I like that. You know, I think Rush is someone who works really hard, is dedicated to his craft. So having an opportunity to touch grass, as we say, and enjoy the fresh air a little bit, spend some time outdoors, sort of contemplate life in general, and where does he want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or maybe a month from now as a producer of Talking Counter, you know, things like that. So I'm happy for
We'll
Rush.
see about that.
I will say that Rush does have a very good aesthetic to be a mountaineer. He likes the checkered flannel shirts.
I haven't worn them as many recently, though.
Well, maybe now that you're getting into the mountains, you can bring them back.
I've been on the hoodie train, but you can't really do that in the summer.
Exactly. So maybe a flannel would be
the
nice
checkered
on the
flannel
mountain.
is great. It's a staple of any wardrobe, I think.
He's a rugged man as well. He likes
right.
cargo shorts.
He's got
which
a
means
he's got
that
a
he can keep
beard
things like-
too. So yeah.
Exactly.
I really like car oil as well,
Yeah, you just smear some on your hands before you go out for the day.
Yeah, I just like the smell, I like the grease, of an engine.
What the fuck? How did we get here? Rush, I also have a request while we have you here at the top of the show.
Sure.
The TeamSpeak hierarchy discussion has already come up
here we
once
go.
today. Janko isn't even verified on TeamSpeak. Is that something that you would be looking to rectify?
Damn, let me fix that right now. You've worked a major, right, Janko? Not the last, but...
Wow. Wow.
I didn't mean it like that.
Oh my
Sorry.
God.
Sorry, man.
Felt like we go
let me
way
fix
back,
that.
but I guess that's what happens when someone,
Get it, man.
feels I was even nice to you at this.
You were
at
nice
the top
to
of
me
this
as well, you were
podcast,
nice.
so now you're dead to me. Now you can eat shit and die, as Kassad likes to point out ever so often on Twitter. So.
Now, Rush,
I
you're
don't
going
need
to have to
anything from you,
explain
you little shit. I'll make my own team speak, you bitch.
What have I done?
You're going to have to explain your way out of this now, Rush, through the system that you have employed here on the TeamSpeak, and maybe
So-
explain to people why
I'm not
this is even cropped up.
I'm not very good with permissions on TeamSpeak, to be honest, and I don't really like the whole ranks and stuff. If people don't know TeamSpeak and you're a little Discord user, which we don't like them, basically it's like so you can join channels and stuff like that, but people care a lot about the little icon you get. So we came up with a nice system, verified. If you're a user of the TeamSpeak, you're verified. And then you can become
What
majorly
constitutes
verified.
you as a user of the TeamSpeak?
Just someone who comes on regularly, someone we have a chat with, someone we know, ideally met in person. Not even that, actually. I mean, just if we know you're.
Well, can we verify
chill
the
person.
identity of everybody who's verified on the TeamSpeak? Would you say? I would say yes.
Yeah, I would say so, but that's not a requirement. I would say not
Okay.
a requirement. It's
All
just
right,
we
fair
know
enough.
them. We've known them for a while. They're just a chill
They're an
person.
entity that exists in the
There's
universe.
some people
Yeah,
that have like
correct.
4
Okay.
icons in here. I only have 1.
So we do have a one icon policy.
Sure.
The icons that you're seeing are actually like TeamSpeak badge icons, which is something we can't control. You can disable it. I have chosen to disable it, so I only see 1 icon per person. It was getting out of hand. Some people are having 4 icons, which I don't really. Doesn't
It
look
looks
good.
messy.
It looks very
It's
messy.
cluttered.
Yeah, I like.
Even
I want it to
Peck's
look
down
clean.
there.
That's,
He's looking
that's
quite
the one I'm
cluttered.
looking at. That's the one I've got my eyes on right
Yeah.
now. He's got a.
He has a lot of
he's got
stuff.
a whole lot of
Yes,
things going on.
yes. He has verified as well. Who did that? Let me take that away.
Well, you can't.
Wow.
Okay, all right, there you go. It looks a bit better now already.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you can disable that stuff in Teams, but maybe after the podcast we'll go through that together.
I have
Disable
flags
that.
on,
Yeah, flags are quite nice. Like you can
Flags are
have flags
strong.
there. Yeah. I like
but
that one.
we need to crack down to the choice of the badge. Now, there's 2 different badges here that Rush that exist. The first badge that you've explained,
It's verified.
yes, and
So
the
then we
second
have
badge.
Majorly verified. This is if
This
you've
is
worked
Russia's
on a major.
elitism coming
No.
out here.
I didn't come up with this. Like Harry is technically my Just Harry Gaming, if people know him.
Is this
He's
the handballing of the blame? Is this the pass off here? The
It's
finger
delegating.
point?
It's delegating. Anyway,
Delegating.
It's under my control at the end of the day, so it is on me, as the CEO of the Rushly TeamSpeak. But anyway, so majorly verified is what if you've worked on a major, basically. I didn't come up with this idea, but other people, people like their icons. So if
Who's
you've worked
come
a
up with
major-
this idea? I'm completely against this.
I think Harry wanted it, to be honest. But anyway, then we have majorly.
What do you get if you
verified, so
played
you've worked
that
a
one?
major. Still majorly verified.
You
like,
see
you'll
JKS down
JKS
there.
is down
He's-
below.
Yeah.
He's majorly verified. Maybe we have if you've won one, we give you a special one. But that's I don't think we're gonna get any of them on here,
Rush,
to be honest.
did it feel good
yeah.
when you took the subreddit private?
As a mod, I took the TeamSpeak private. Yeah, I took TeamSpeak down in the protest of Reddit, because it's linked in some
They
way.
did actually go down at the
Way to
same time.
be
When
part of the
Reddit-
people, part of the movement.
Yeah, exactly. Just fight.
It's just a bunch
fighting
of
the cause,
blue
It
collar
was just
internet
the-
people just working together.
It was just some packet loss. It was just a bit of packet loss. That was the issue. And TeamSpeak went down at the same time as the subreddit did. So it was quite a grim time. People migrated to different TeamSpeaks. There was splinters, and it didn't feel as homely as what it does right now. And I know Rush, you took that little swing at Janko before. I don't know why.
I apologize for that.
Yeah, it's not accepted.
Just on record.
I don't care.
Anyway, as you
me.
may know, Chad has a different icon. I like this icon quite a bit. He has the contributor icon, which means he has because TeamSpeak ain't free. It's not like a Discord server. You do have to front some cash, to keep the servers going. And that bill has been fronted onto me for the past years. I'm down potentially tens of euros from this game being up that long. So luckily, Chad has actually contributed monetarily to the TeamSpeak, keeping it going. Keeping there's a lot of paid
I keep
people
the
we
lights
have
on
here.
around here.
I was going to
the
contribute, but then you
contributor
took
badge.
that shot at Janko, and now in solidarity, I feel like I have to remove my funding.
Well, Jason, you don't have to worry about that because I will be implementing a plugin which will track the amount of time people are
You're
on
not.
the TeamSpeak, and I'm going to charge people every month accordingly.
Okay.
So it might be 20 cents, it might be €1, but I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
it's not free handouts all
Sure.
the time. You know what I'm saying? And
I
Jason,
can't
your
believe
bill
it.
after what you bought is going to be very long.
Rush, you know what you
people
have
don't
here
know-
on TeamSpeak?
Go on.
You have something that's called highly substitutable, if that's even a word, product.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if you start doing that, I will actually, me personally, I'll just make a new TeamSpeak server.
I've already
I'll
heard this
I'll
from
pull
people.
it up.
Hugo said
I'll
it,
give
yeah.
Chad and Harry all the controls. You will be permanently
Oh.
banned from it, and people can still keep having a good time without your little, without you pestering them all the time.
I'm not gonna lie, I am worried about that when the plugin does come into force. I am a little worried. Hugo said he was leaving instantly. The second any mention of money comes up, Hugo's gone. So
The plugin's not real. I just want to let everyone know. It's an idle threat. There's
it's
nothing
not real
behind
yet.
this here.
Not real yet.
And even if
I'm
it
curious.
even if it gets created, it will never be enforced, as I'll be taking care of the bills. So you won't have to.
Problem
be
is, I don't like
worrying.
Chad being in control of all of it because, worming his little fingers deep into it, and just like, ugh.
All the responsibility lies with you, Rush. This whole badge system, I never wanted to be involved in this conversation of your little elitism that is leaking out
But
of
the
you.
thing is, it's fairly like it's a flat hierarchy. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know. It's like
People are free
no
to
one
play
can do
whatever
it, yeah.
games they
You can do what
want,
you
you know.
You just there's
make
a
your
few
own
simple
channels.
rules. You can't ban people and stuff like that. So it's like there's minimal rules. It's just just little icons.
Yeah.
Okay. Rush, what
Yeah.
are you doing here? Do we have another Get Animated segment? Do you have another bathroom question?
Anyway, yeah, I did want to talk to you about one thing, Jason.
Well,
Think
he
I
did
actually
flush
bring it
our
up.
friendship down the toilet, so I guess
Oh, that's,
it is another toilet episode.
I'm glad you mentioned toilet because
Or maybe this is one of those like
Believe it or
top
not.
10 anime betrayals. I don't know. It's a little bit of both.
Janko,
Jason.
come on, man. Come on, man.
A little bit of both.
That was fucked. I do apologize.
It just kind of came out. He saw the opportunity and he
Again.
seized the
I
moment.
know. I just. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about toilets. It's a bit off-brand of me, I know, but there was a discussion I wanted to have with Jason more specifically. Because I was in
Okay.
Dallas recently. I'm sure a lot of us were. Dinko mentioned this slightly on broadcast, but I don't think he went into as much detail as he
Okay.
should have done on air. Basically, I've used toilets, in a lot of places, a lot
Around
of
the
areas
world,
throughout
yeah.
the world. Yeah, but I do have an issue with American toilets. I just don't really understand them.
Is it the amount of water in the toilet?
Why? Yeah, why is there so much water in there, Jason? That's what
Yeah,
I'm
but
asking.
I feel like I can reverse that question. Ask you why is there so little water in the European toilets?
Because we care about the environment.
Yeah, but see, we
Damn
have
right.
in America, like when I moved into this house and I had to redo a bathroom, I got a high efficiency toilet, so it uses the water more efficiently than toilets in the
So
past.
basically, you use
So-
it the way Europeans do it.
Yeah, but it still has more water. So I have the added benefit of not having to scrape with a brush the sides of the toilets after every poop that you take.
Every poop.
Mate, I've been in some toilets in Europe where there's like maybe like a drop of water at the bottom of it.
Well, so this is where we get into interesting conversations. Are you talking about a shelf toilet, Jason? I think we've brought that one up on the show before.
Plumbers get
I'm not. I don't really know what constitutes a shelf toilet, but that does
Well, if you
mentally sound a
Google-
little
I'll
accurate.
put a link in right now.
A shelf toilet's like one that comes out of the wall and there's like you can't do anything. You can't get to the
no.
what do you call the top part? The basin?
the cistern.
Cistern, yeah.
This is the shelf toilet. So this is an interesting design. I only experienced this when I went to Germany. So basically,
that's horrendous.
This is horrible.
yeah, and on that top little lip is only a small body of water.
Yeah.
This,
Now,
just
if
for
you-
people
if
listening, I
you-
guess, basically it's a flip toilet. So the watery part is at the front of the toilet. If you're taking a dump, you're just dumping on the porcelain.
Yeah,
and
there's
it's
a
just
little bit of
hanging
water there, and
Oh.
you can
Yeah.
leave an awful lot of skid marks available.
I mean,
yeah.
tell
So
me honestly, Rush, you
it's never
want
great.
the American toilet over this absolute
But
garbage.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the one
that's
that,
horrible.
but the normal toilets that Rush is talking about comparatively to the high water in the American toilets, most people know what I'm talking about. That would be most people in Europe and I think Australia. I think we have similar toilets to how it is in Europe, I believe. I think it's got something to do with the way that the waste is drained. I think that's one of the factors. It's something to do with because with the I think you have bigger pipes in Europe and Australia for waste. I always remember when we put in a WC or a pan, we'd always make sure it would be a 100 mil pipe, which was like the biggest pipe we'd lay for doing anything in houses. And this is about to get really boring. But I think it's got something to do with the size of the pipe and the way that the water is drained.
I don't really
So-
care much about the pipes. All I know is when I'm peeing into it, like it's horrible. Like it's direct contact with water. Like at home, I like to just graze the porcelain, and it like kind of breaks the flow, and it's
Sure,
just
it
a
cuts
nicer
down on
feeling. In
cuts down on
America,
sound pollution as well.
Yeah, sound pollution, spillage, all these kind of
Well,
things, and it's
I
just
don't
like
know if it cuts down on sound pollution. It's just a different noise.
it's a lower frequency noise, I think. Which,
Sure.
it doesn't travel.
Hitting
as
the
far,
porcelain
maybe it
definitely
does.
dampens the sound. When you're in a hotel room
Yeah,
with a
I would
lady friend,
agree.
and it's 3 a.m. and you go for a pee. You're peeing on the
Yeah,
porcelain.
but everyone takes a slash, mate. It's
it's
one of
just
those
common
things.
courtesy.
I just don't get why this is annoying. And also, when you take a dump in there, as a fellow stander like me, Jason, when you stand up to
Sure.
wipe, you look in there and it's just presented to you like fully. And if it's not a one tap, if it's a multi tap, so if it's a spray situation, it's like it's horrible to look at, man. It's like, at least in the European ones, it's all condensed down in a tight, compact area in the toilet.
Sure. I mean, I
So
don't know
this,
about that.
this was the conversation. This is what was brought to us today. Not get
Let me
animated
tell you. Let me read you
episode
something, though,
2.
Rush. Under U.S. federal law, new toilets must not use more than 1.6 gallons per flush. Now, high efficiency toilets (HETs), they go beyond the standard and they use 1.28 GPF, which is gallons per flush, which is a 20% savings.
Yeah,
So
but
that's 6 liters versus 4.8 liters. So the high efficiency toilets are 4.8 liters per flush. What are you working with over in Europe?
Let me check. Hang on. Let me check. I'm going to do a double flush on this one.
What are we even bringing this up for? How
I
is
don't
this?
think I don't think it's using that much water though, from what I can see here. Like it doesn't. I don't think that's 6 liters.
You have a toilet next to your PC.
I have one of those fancy wireless headsets.
Now,
that can stroll
Rush,
around.
I got one more reading for you. To verify its power and unmatched performance, the Champion Toilet Collection has been tested and proven by American standard to flush a bucket of golf balls in a single flush, using 20% less water
American
than
standard.
I ain't
conventional
shitting golf
toilets.
balls, that's for sure.
There we go.
Who flushes golf
American
balls?
standard.
Well, it's just
That's the thing.
it's a nice marketing thing. Like I can flush a bucket
the
of golf
metric.
balls in a single flush. So if you ever have a dump that is the size of a bucket of golf balls, you don't have to worry about the flush.
Guys, I think we're fine. I think it's okay. We can accept the fact that in America, they do things differently, and in the rest of the world, we do things a little bit differently, and that's okay. The things still work. We still get to the same result. Now, Rush, I'm sorry that you don't like looking at your soup of poop and toilet paper when you're flushing when you're doing your business
Not
in
a massive
America.
fan, yeah.
I'm sorry about that, mate.
That's
I
all
really
right, it's
am.
all right.
That isn't something that but there's nothing. There is one tragedy though that actually should be brought to light here, and this is one that I'm sure Janko, you can probably get on board with this here. Why are the gaps on all public toilets in America so fucking wide?
Oh, in the in the public
Oh,
stalls,
yes.
you mean? Yeah, I don't
Yeah, no,
I don't
this
have a
is
good
something
answer.
I'll get
I don't have a
upset
good answer
about.
for you on that one. It is bogus as fuck.
Well, people want to be getting creeped on or something. I just don't understand that one there. Really,
Yeah.
I think
bothers
one
me.
time someone said it's like, I don't know, if someone collapses in the toilet or something like that, so you could see what's
see the
going
fucking feet
or,
under the door,
or maybe
man.
a little bit, it's like so you can't do any naughty business in there because, people could see very clearly. So you would be like, I don't know, someone gave me that sort of a explanation one time.
Sure.
I guess. Yeah. All right.
I think it freaks me out too as well. Like it makes me really uncomfortable. But I think
And
it's
it
one of
goes
those
both-
things you're just
and it
not
goes
used to
both
it because it's just such a it's just such a small gap where someone would really have to get close and look through it, which is like, I mean, listen, the world is full of crazy people, so that might happen. But I don't know. I guess it's unlikely. It's one of those
It's just
irrational
why?
fears that you have.
You look up mid-wipe and you've got a little eyeball in the crack staring right at you.
It's too much for me. That's the bit that
Yeah,
takes me
it
too
is.
far. All right, Rush. Well, Rush, was this your contribution for this episode?
Yeah, that's all I had. It was a bit, that's all I had.
I like the roller coaster we went on, though, today. Did you enjoy your time?
Yeah, it was nice. It's at the end of the whole podcast.
Have you given any thought to doing the producing for this show?
Don't be so
really.
excited about it.
Don't know. I just think. Here's okay. I think there's someone out there right now, who would be dying to do this. Might have fallen on hard times, so a little bit of cash, injections. I think
this guy.
It wouldn't be fair of me to take that away from someone else. Is basically what I'm saying. If I took the producer role, I'm executive producer already as it is, but working as an active producer, I think there's someone out there, starving who, might deserve the role a little more. You know what I'm saying?
So all right, well we'll leave it at this point. All right, we're gonna just put it on the table and then we'll say goodbye to you, Rush. But we want you to come with the lads. It's something that we want to make happen. And we'd like you to give some serious thought, and we can talk about it again in the future. But before you deflect and try and play some fucking sympathy card for something out there, you fucking cunt.
Yep.
Let's stay in the realms of the world we're in right now. And Rush, anything else that you want to say to the people?
I don't know. I didn't like how you started the little twist episode, by the way. Your little episode of twist.
Okay. Well, that was in pursuit of this same situation.
Didn't really appreciate that.
It was to get your attention. Did it work?
I mean, it did. Yeah, I didn't like it. Like, if people don't know, Chad is terrible when it comes to anything computer related, and he can't figure it out. That's the problem. Like, I've had it many times where Chad has been like telling me an issue he's having with his PC, and as he's telling me, I'm typing in exactly what he's saying into Google, and then I'll tell him, "Oh, have you tried this?" And it works, and he goes, "Oh, thanks, Rash." It's like Chad is terrible. Like, you had a 4x3 video that you couldn't make 16:9.
Yeah.
He just likes making other people do the work for him. Rush.
Yeah, it's nice.
Just Google, man. Google's the best thing ever.
The best invention ever. So Rush endorses Google.
Yeah, Google's good.
Unless
We're sponsored by Bing or something else in the future, then you know what? I hate Google, man. I'm done with it.
We weren't saying brands, man. You did it again.
Google.
All right. Goodbye, Rushley.
All right. See you later, guys.
See ya. Hey, upload
don't all say goodbye
upload
then,
your
don't.
stuff and send it over to me.
Yeah, right. What format do you want that in?
File.
Google it, you
export,
fucking bitch.
Export as a wave.
Oh, my Google was actually talking to me there.
Yeah, well, you got to be careful.
Anyway,
You're always listening.
Get the fuck out! You said
Janko,
bye
I'm
like
sorry
5
for
minutes ago.
I'm sorry for the joke I made. I didn't mean anything by it. It was just
So long, Rushley.
I don't know. I want to make the boys laugh, and I don't like making people laugh at people's expense, so I do apologize. If there's anything you want at the next event we're both at, I'll buy you some tacos from, I can't say the
Just
actual
get
name,
out,
so
please. Thank you.
Boney's Tacos. All right.
See
Anyway.
ya, Rush.
Bye, Rush.
See you later.
See you, man.
All right.
Where do you even go from that point
I don't know.
on? I feel that it's a great performance from
I'm
Rush
exhausted.
today. He came in. Well, no, but that's the thing. I think there was good energy. It was definitely there was really good energy going on there. He took swings early, but it was a roller coaster. We visited a lot of different topics today, and it was good.
He came, he saw, he destroyed.
He threw some haymakers out there into the world.
Just another day in the life of Rush. I want to mention something
mate.
before we get into the
Meat and potatoes.
other part of things. Yeah, I put out a tweet right before we started recording this with a really nice looking case of a PC, and I put the specs of it in, and Jason already lost his mind. And a bunch of other people tweeted at me saying, "Ooh, analyst pay must be nice. Ooh, a beast just to play on low settings." Well, that's not really my PC. Those are the specs of the PCs. They're going to be in a new bootcamp place in Belgrade.
Oh.
That I'm opening with some partners, and it's going to be officially open in 4 days. 1st of July is the official opening date. And it's something that I've wanted to do for a while, really, because I think, Belgrade is a great location for a boot camp. Obviously, being outside of the Schengen area, the visa issue is not really an issue for a lot of the people and countries that come from countries that do boot camps. It's fairly cheap, and it has easy flight connections to all the major hubs in Europe, and it's easy to get to. So, again, another thing also, geographically, the ping to German servers, which are the main ones in Europe, is also pretty good. So, yeah, this is not going to be a sales pitch about it. Don't worry, I'll be posting some stuff on my Twitter. But just, a couple of quick things about it. Like, it has 3 gaming rooms. All the rooms are, exactly the same layout. We got those PCs that are insane. The 360 hertz BenQs. The secret lab chairs, which were a pain in the ass to get to Serbia because there's no distributors locally. Height adjustable desks. Every room has its AC. I think the important thing in addition to that is there's apartments there as well, not hotel rooms, but apartments. So the gaming rooms are on the ground floor. The first and second floor are where the apartments are. And then on the top floor, the 7th floor, there's a small gym. And also sort of a chill area, which is basically looks like a player lounge at tournaments. And yeah, the ground floor also has one dining room, so where people can just chill, eat food together. And yeah, we had Michal Slovinski from ESL come in, set up the PCs and everything, help with the network to make sure everything is top-notch, everything is up to tournament standards. So yeah, I'm super excited about the place actually opening and have some teams come in, because I think it's really, really great. When I was coaching and going to some of these places, there's a lot of good places out there. I just think, each one is maybe lacking just a little bit, something where you can't really get everything really at one place. You either have to book a hotel somewhere else, or, something in the actual gaming rooms is maybe lacking a little bit, whether it's light or temperature or whatever. So we really tried to make it so that you get as close as everything you could need in one place and can just focus on playing. So that's that. There's going to be more sneak peeks and tweets coming out, and everything should go fully live Friday this week. But yeah, I think you guys also saw the PCs. What do you think?
Well, we saw the PCs and stuff, but first, I think we got to get in here. We've known about your little venture for a little bit of time right now, so we would have been jumping in with the congratulations with the breaking news, but we've seen in your pitch and everything.
Yeah, we were sold a long time ago.
Yeah. It's a cool little well, not little. It's a cool business venture you got going on here, and I think with some of the things you were talking about there, Jason. You've got more recent experience than I do, but with going around as a part of a team and events and stuff, anything that makes the experience less tumultuous is good, right? Like just being able to have everything in one place, not having to travel to a venue and do this, that, and the other. It's all nice to have everything. Especially, I remember we'd go to like spaces in the. Like it'd be like a LAN cafe, and it'd be like a glass fucking window, and it'd be 5 PCs away from everything, right? But you'd have to go into the LAN cafe, and then they'd still have all the peripherals plugged in. You'd have to unplug all of those. And I'm making it sound like it was mega arduous, but it wasn't just like, okay, this is what you need. You just need the PC, you just need the monitor. They're going to come in, they're going to plug in all their gear, away they're going to go. There needs to be tournament standard, this much, this in the rule book, this is how much space they get for the table, like all of the amenities and everything. And it sounds like, and from what we've seen, you've got all that covered, Janko. So that's what I think is really cool. Is making it as easy for them to be able to get going and
anything
playing
that can make you
as quickly
feel like
as
you're
possible.
like somewhat in like a homely place, you know, like that you actually have somewhere that like you can, I don't know, like the feeling of being able to just say like, this is my room, I'm comfortable in this environment, like I have everything I need is massive. Just like taking those stresses off the brains of players who are traveling and in a foreign country is huge. And I know a lot of your plans solve that problem. I was lucky. I had the liquid facility, which was exactly that. I never had to like go to like a random scrappy boot camp and just hope and pray that things were going to be nice. But that was always the best thing for us when we were in Europe. Was that facility had everything we could possibly need to enjoy ourselves and just focus on the game. So I know you got some shit in place to do the same thing.
Yeah, a lot of people.
But the thing.
No, go
sorry,
ahead,
Janko.
Chad.
I was going to say the thing about this, right? Like because like we can talk about this from the perspective of a lot of things, right? Like just how this is for players and orgs and everything, like to be able to organize boot camps overseas for their teams and everything like that. But I also think about it like on a personal level, because I know you and I've known you for like years, and this is such like and I think about like what I do in my life, which is fucking nothing. And then I look at like this mega like adult thing you're doing. You're starting this like boot camp facility with the knowledge that you've accrued throughout your time in this industry to fill a need, right? Because that's the thing. There is a need for these spaces. You know, you hear teams saying, "Oh, sometimes they're booked out," or this, because it's not just Counter-Strike of people looking to get boot camp facilities. It's like fucking Dota teams and well, probably a whole bunch of other games, right? My spectrum of what the cool kids are playing these days is not that high, but I look at it from that personal angle, Janko, and I'm like, man, all that fucking responsibility. You've had to like look at places and like fuck it. It's just fuck.
Yeah, it's a lot, and I mean that's why I got into this with partners, right? With I guess investors, so to speak, who have more knowledge about some of the business side of things, some of the construction work that had to be done, remodeling, designing the place, all of that stuff. I still have a lot of time is dedicated to just going to events and doing what I do there. So I was finally able to find a quote unquote perfect partner, right, where my responsibilities are the things that I know how to do, and to use the contacts that I made over the years and the know-how how the place needs to look, and then other people who are involved, they're using the things that they're good at and their experience to get that side of the things done. So I've had this idea years ago, like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I thought it would be a good idea to do it in Belgrade, but over the years I couldn't. I had a couple of offers, people approaching me for something like that, but I never really liked the fit. There was always something missing. So with this one, I think I found the right people to do the project with, and a lot of the good feedback from teams has been the fact that it's small, that it's apartments, not hotel rooms, because even it's some of them, there's different kinds of apartments in there. Some are for two people, some are for one person. There's studios and one bedroom apartments, but all of them have a small kitchen. So for some players who want to make their own foods, it feels different than at a hotel. It's more personable, especially for teams that want to come in for longer stays from, South America, Asia, Oceania, North America even, right? All these teams, I think it can make it a bit more bearable to spend so much time away from home.
Yeah, it's a curious one as well. And that Schengen one you brought up is a big one. Like, I don't think people realize
how
just
important that is.
How much of how much of an issue that can
and
cause.
Liquid, I know the facility is amazing, but also now that you have a Russian player in, right? Like, I know that Liquid as an org is also going to eventually, right? It's a process, but sort them out with either residency permits or, long-term visas or whatnot. But in the short term, even teams like that might have to look for places outside of their own facilities. Yeah. So I think the timing is also nice to kick it off, especially with how many roster changes there been. Even teams like Navi going international supposedly.
Alexi's been confirmed on their Blast roster. I don't know about the other ones.
Yeah.
So that and with CS2 coming out, I think it's like nice timing for something like that to kick off.
It's going to be cute. Like, all of this space going ahead is going to be very curious.
Get the boys in before Pro League, right?
Yeah, it'd be nice to get them out there.
Yeah, I mean, also
get Team Australia in there to warm up for the cashes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I gotta work out my roster, get the salary settled, get the contract signed, get everything ready and raring to go. And we're still in the early stages, Jason. We're still just getting myself back in shape to know what I can produce on the server. And then once we have a better confirmation, better understanding of the output that I'm going to be looking to deliver.
Then you can start building the lineup.
We'll be formalizing the team. Yeah, look, right now it is me and JKS in the server on a day-to-day basis, just taking on some pugs. Justin having to drop somewhere between 40 to 60 kills for us to win games, but look, he is able to do it from time to time. So look, we will be banking on those type of performances. Other names that we're looking at, met a young lad. Cop, this is a story, gents. Met a young lad in a pug, and he asked me if I was fake flagging, and I was like, nah, man.
What is fake?
And then he asked me again, and I was,
What does that mean? Fake flagging.
So
like
you can in FACE you can set a different flag, right? But I'm playing in Europe and I have an Australian flag, so there's a lot of people do that shift and could be anywhere. I was like, nah. And then eventually they looked at my profile and he saw it was me. Anyway, this guy turned out to be a lad from Perth who moved to the United Kingdom to play some Counter-Strike. And Perth's a really small place. I don't know if that's that really resonates with too many people, how small Perth is. He moved to the UK, playing some Counter-Strike, and we're in a pug with him, and I've been queuing with the guy Bisharooney. He's not too bad. He's got the right idea. It's been a bit of fun.
You see a little bit of a young Spunj in him,
No, well, I don't know he's just it's hard out there when you're trying to play pugs in the middle of the day, Jason. It's always hard to find people. Harry and your Hugos, they're never around.
What are they doing?
They're night owls, Janko. You wouldn't believe what they're doing. Sometimes
their schedule is a little whack.
Sometimes, yeah, it's unbelievable. But they're young men. They're young men, really enjoying their 20s. So I can't question it too much. If they want to be up playing BattleBit at 4:00 in the morning, that's their prerogative.
Absolutely.
And I shouldn't stand in the way of that. I should celebrate it. I should cheer it on because BattleBit's a great game. Did you play any?
I haven't played it yet. I've been mostly focused on. I'm one of those Diablo geeks. So I've been putting some hours in Diablo because that was a game I played in my childhood. So it's just I've been hyped for Diablo 4 for a while. So that's most of the gaming that I've been doing over this break.
Oh shit! Could you have functions like that, Janko? Whereas there's like a game opening, like if Diablo 5's coming out, I don't know how many PCs are there, but you have like a Diablo 5 launch party. Yeah. Or are we strictly esports?
No, I mean, it can be for other things.
I know you know how to throw a party.
Yeah, I mean, it's meant to be for esports, but I think we're doing some promo stuff as well with some of the sponsors before it opens, like athletes and stuff. Not really my department. But yeah, I think it's going to be available for anyone who's interested to do whatever they want. I just expect it to be with the look of things, pretty filled and pretty busy most of the time. So, yeah. Diablo 5. Diablo 4 just came out. A lot of Diablo fans out there are going to be like, man, it's going to come out
Honestly,
for
I didn't even
years,
It was kind of scary too with the way like Blizzard and Activision have been going. I wasn't even really confident that we'd actually ever even get Diablo 4. Like I was really worried this game would just get straight
feeling
canceled.
with Diablo 3 though.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Diablo 3 was a bit of a letdown for the Diablo franchise, It wasn't exactly the most the big thing about Diablo 3 was the real world like marketplace around items that they canceled like a couple months into the game. But yeah, anyways, we don't have to go down that road. I've seen a lot about BattleBit, so I've wanted to try my hand at it. But with the gaming hours for me, not being a young man anymore,
you have a kid,
and the human child makes things a little bit difficult as well.
Well, your hours are like perfect to play with Harry and Hugo in the evening.
That's true, actually. So if you do roll around,
they're on your time zone.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe they'll be there.
They could be. That's actually a good point. I might be able to catch them. Okay.
It's one of these things. It's one of these things. Gentlemen, a lot's happened again since the last episode we had the Australian, the episode with Machini GTV come out.
Yeah, I didn't get nearly as much, what's the word I'm looking for?
Traction eyeballs?
Yeah.
Shit.
I mean, shit, yeah, basically, as I maybe expected to. There were a couple of comments in there. Some were like... lighthearted, making fun of me, which is I expected way worse. So I appreciate you guys for understanding that, we all had a few. Me mostly me, but yes.
That's fair enough. Yeah. No, look, I thought it had a good reception. I thought the
nice.
reception was pretty good. I just fucking binned an email somehow, man. Come on, man. Nah, it's all good. I found it. Guys, you've really got to learn how to use the internet properly. When you get old like me, you don't keep in touch. I'm not in touch with what the technology is.
I frequently
I
frequently feel like I need to just hire someone to give me like a 2-hour crash course on how to set up my Gmail accounts to be more efficient. Because there's got to be tools that I don't know about. But I'm not using any AI.
But how are we living so wrong?
I don't know, but it happened quick. It happened real quick.
Or did it? Are we just getting old? Is that what old people
I think this
say?
is just. I think it is the transition into old age. It's hard to keep up, with all the new toys, all the new tricks.
Yeah, there's doing so many things out there on the internet now. It's all too much. It's way too much for me. There are these people know everything as well. How do people know all the things about all these roster changes? Just tell me how. How does everyone know what's going on before things are happening all the time? What's going on?
I think Striker made a good point about it, where it's like there's so many changes happening between teams that there's way more people in the know, like.
Oh, there has to be more parties, right?
There has to be more people who know about it, so the chances of something leaking go exponentially up because of it.
That's a good take.
Because, if it's one guy from, I don't know, let's say OG, well, he could give you 5 different news, right? Like the Dexter one, the Flames one, Nexa coming back, like all these sort of things can come just from like one person who's in the know in the OG camp. Or the Liquid team, right, as well. For Elige, going, not going, Rainwaker, Patsy, all.
The Navi one's pretty broad in terms of how many parties that could cover as well.
Yeah, and I think also...
I think Tommy made a really good point, too. I mean, he also kind of touched on not just like the amount of people that have a reason to leak, but also, I mean, there's sometimes business reasons why information gets put out into the world, right? Like there's like, the coordinated leaks and the strategic leaks of information and roster changes that can help influence different negotiations.
True.
So there's a lot of factors.
I think that's a little bit. I think it's also in our industry probably a little bit risky to go for that because it might backfire as well. Like you're thinking it will have one effect, but it could have the complete opposite effect because.
Yeah.
Well, not everyone is super experienced in dealing with this sort of thing, and I think also another reason why we have some more of these leagues because you have some. Let's say smaller orgs being involved, right? Like that are not maybe as often in this sort of scenarios where I don't know someone like Team Liquid or G2, Navi, FaZe. All these teams are very much experienced now with transferring players and these sort of things, right? And probably someone was in the know in some of these smaller orgs who didn't need to be, and then they got overly excited and talked to someone else. And that person talked to someone, and that's how it got to Nell or
What do you think about the EG shit though? Right, there was all the EG stuff that came out that they were talking to all these players, and then they just went, no, actually, you know what? We're just going to promote one of our.
I think the deals fell through, and then they had no other choice. But why did the deals fall through? That would be a really, really cool if someone would do an interview about that and like not you don't need to go into super details, but just sort of was it because for Zorti, for example, it was like it's like it's paid, it's just he's waiting for his paper, so maybe he didn't get like the visa or something along those lines.
I think
some other player maybe it was he got a better offer from a different team. Who knows?
Yeah, and I think to a certain extent too, with this EG specifically, I think if you're like a Liege, right, or if you're like Electronic, like you're not joining EG to like start a project. You're like, okay, they're getting Jax, they're getting Electronic, they're getting Zorti, they're getting all these big name players, and then it's just like a snowball effect where one of them backs out and the other guy's like, oh, if he's gone, like this doesn't really seem worth it, and he backs out, and then all of a sudden, you lose everything because there's no reason for anyone to really go there. So that one feels like, to me, at least from the outside, I was like, that had to have been like Electronic pulled out, and then Zorti decided he didn't want to go there, and then like Alicia's looking at the roster, and he's like, "I'm not fucking joining up just to like be part of this team that can't win games." And that's how I would have imagined it shook out.
Well, it's also it could also be okay. There was the EG offer, and then all of a sudden Cloud9 shows up, right?
Yeah.
And, then you
too.
can play with your
it's a
countryman.
no-brainer
You can
right?
speak in your native language, which I imagine for someone like Electronic is a big deal, for example. And also, I think. It was never like in the report with EG that Perfecto was supposed to go to, right? It was only Electronic.
Yeah, only
So
electronic.
I think also seeing as how a Cloud9 deal would include Perfecto too, I think that's also something that Electronic would prefer, right? So the deal just on a lot of counts made a lot more sense. And, to be honest, it's also a better lineup to begin with. Shira and Exile are on that team, incredibly talented young players. You could help them take that next step. So yeah, I don't think it's... I think if you present it that way, you can clearly see why the deal would fall through,
Mate, if it's what, but like you think about it, Shiro, Axel, Electronic, Perfecto. Like, come on, man. That like just even if you were just weighing up the options of not the language, not anything like that, like that team, it'd be a no-brainer if I was Electronic and Perfecto, if that was an option, if that was a possible team that I could join. I'd be fucking in there like swimwear, mate. Like that. That is really good.
But who do we think is going to be the fifth now?
There's been talk of both ways, right? I forget which way was more recent.
The Hobbit staying is
Hobbit
more
staying.
recent. That's the Overdrive one, and before that it was Nafani staying.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I know that it does matter, but I don't think like. I don't know. I'm not inside the walls, right? So they know better of why they want to keep each player. So then I have to sit back and I have to look at it and I have to weigh up what I see. And I don't love the way things go at the moment with the way that they play. There's a lot of the times I do feel that, Nafany's just throwing away his life, but they also play slow Counter-Strike at the same time. So then I don't know. It's such a tough nut for me to crack thinking about what is wrong with Cloud9, because that's the question we've been asking in the first place, right? Where like they have Axel and Shiro, those guys are fucking sick. What's the problem been? And then has it really just defaulted back to the way they play? Or has it just been not enough production out of other players? Because we talk about the best teams in the world having to have 4 good players, right? So have you been getting enough out of Buster and
I
Hobbit?
think too it's like the play style and the style of like players around them, right? Like that's the thing that I think always makes it feel like Nafany is like throwing his life away sometimes. Is I don't really look at Hobbit and Buster and think that there's someone who's going to create. They're not going to create openings and opportunities for everyone else. So I think Nafany kind of sometimes probably has to overextend from an individual decision making, and probably puts Exile in a situation where your star rifler kind of has to make his play in a more aggressive play than he probably wants to in situations.
But here's the thing. I don't know how to do this, because I told you last episode, Hobnob, he's not really been delivering his role. But I don't know what the plan is if he stays. Does he in-game lead or Electronic, or who does? But let's say for a second it's Hobbit.
You feel like if he could have in-game leaded, he would have in-game leaded already.
If Hobbit stays on the team, imagine the team where you have Hobbit and Perfecto as your anchors, Exile and Electronic as your sort of the second guy, like the rotators in that sense, depending on the map, right? Some map has 2 rotators, some has 1. And then Shiro with the op.
Yeah, your CT sides are really fucking strong.
That's a pretty fucking sick lineup, if Hobbit can play that anchor role, because you probably want to give... Exile does it, maybe on some sides, but, like B Vertigo, and Pit on Inferno. So I'm not really sure. You would have to have... There's some role overlap with Electronic and Exile, and spots overlap in that sense, but I feel like if you can make those switches, like if Hobbit can be a good anchor, or maybe, I don't know. I mean, for me, when I think about it, it makes more sense to put Hobbit as the anchor and, have Exile and Electronic work things. But I guess it's also super map dependent, like who you want to put where. In some positions, anchor might be even a little bit more important than the guy that's in between the site and, like, let's say the middle area of the map. So But just firepower-wise, if you could make that happen, that would be pretty sick. Because the problem for me is I don't see Nafany really... I don't know if he can play anchor, right? Like, he's a very young player. He's aggressive. Like, for being anchor, you have to be a little bit more passive, a little bit more patient. That sounds more like Hobbit than it does Nafany.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. I think one of the things is, and this is hard, and you can see other players who are like this at times, who are in-game leaders. It's easier to feel out rounds and call stuff like if you're more central in the map, right? Or more like pack-orientated, if we're talking CT or T sides. Like I know there was a lot of conversation about Apex playing connector on Mirage, right? But you, as an in-game leader, get a better sense of the round in that position. But as a star player, if you play that position really well, you can dictate the outcome of a round, right? So is the trade-off of having your in-game leader there who can potentially like understand how the round needs to shape up or what reaction needs to happen quicker more beneficial to the player who can just get it done on their own?
So here's a question for you. In that same example, do you think in that exact position and what you're talking about, is it more important to be good at aim duels in that position, or is it actually more important to have a sense of timing and when to ask for a flash, when to ask for an extra smoke from your opponent to block them, like that sort of like timing things and like utility exchange and that sort of a thing?
That's a good question. So Connector Mirage is the example, right?
Right? So is it like more Nafany there, like let's say Nafany or Apex, who are not as good of an aimer as Exile or Electronic, let's say, but I mean, the Electronic is a bad example because he has both. He has good sense of timing as well, but let's say an aimer that you put there, you know, like they had those issues with Spinks, Vitality did, right? Where he was a little bit too passive in that role and was giving up too much space, right? And that hurt them on the map because they found themselves in like bad situations, you know. And Apex, sure, he might die sometimes, lose a fight, overextend, but you'll have better information and better feel for the round.
Yeah, that's the thing. That I'm having a hard time deciding what I think is better. I guess ideally, you'd want to have a player there who shoots well, but has a good understanding of the protocols and reactions to different smokes, or you know, but having the sense of when to call the flash. That'd be nice on top, but maybe, you know, you got someone ready to call the flash for you. I don't know. I think it's a mix of the two, obviously, but I couldn't give you a percentage on which one I think would be valued more. But that is a conversation that does feel like, I don't know, it's the common position we talk about where a player with impact or an in-game leader. Because I remember, like, it's a Counter-Strike a very long time ago, but we had Justin Anchor A. No, actually, I think we even had Justin Anchor fucking B. Because if they came B, we wanted a good player there to get multiple kills. But realistically, in modern Counter-Strike, you know, B on Mirage, if you're blocking like with the smokes and stuff, you can set up a whole bunch of more interesting crossfires and you can really bog them down when they hit the site. But back in the day, I don't know, Counter-Strike was a lot more club and caveman style,
yeah, it's
right?
a lot different.
So we had, So I don't know. It's a hard question, Janko.
I also think in today's Counter-Strike, and especially with the way Cloud9 plays the majority of the time, it's like, sure, you need to set up a system and all of that stuff, but you know, you have Shiro and Electronic on the team. Even if you put someone like Hobbit as the in-game leader, he would mostly, like, in that sort of a, like, what I'm trying to say is when the round starts, all five guys need to understand the game, right? Like, they all need to be able to react on their own and see where the gap is. You can't expect, whether it's Hobbit or Nafany, to tell Perfecto, hey, push B now, right? I mean, sure, that might happen once in a blue moon, but ideally, Perfecto is seeing the same thing Nafany is seeing based off of information and sound cues and whatnot, and is making that play already, let's say. So you would need that in-game leader would basically need to just dedicate whatever, 10, 15% more of his mental focus to think about freeze time in the rounds, right? In situations in which no one is raising their hand and saying, hey, I'm going to go for this peak, I'm going to go for this push, where he can just call something, what they want to do at that time, and then the round develops from there, right? Something might happen early on in the round, or it might not, and then you have to make adjustments mid-round. And when it comes to adjustments mid-round, that's not just the in-game leader. I mean, it's rarely just that's everyone. That's from what we've heard. That's a lot of Shiro, right? And then you add Electronic, Perfecto, 2 guys coming in from Navi, experience, winners, right? Like, you know, there's going to be a lot of help to whoever has to be the in-game leader in the end. So I don't think in that sort of a lineup with Shiro, Exile, Hobbit, Perfecto, and Electronic, it's going to matter all too much. You might even decide to keep it with Electronic because he's been doing it with Navi, right? And
he even had that Instagram story saying that he wanted to, I don't forget the exact wordage, but he wanted to be a good in-game leader.
Yeah, and he had Simple in Navi. He has Shiro here as also an Opera who talks a lot. Perfecto is coming with him, and then you also have, you know, Hobbit, another experienced guy. So compared to having Bit and MPL, I mean, Bit, I feel like he mostly shoots, and that's it. So, yeah, I think I'm just, the only thing that concerns me, and that one of the main reasons why I would, you know, want to keep Nafany in a way is like he's still young, but very experienced for his age, and could be one, I don't want to say for the future, but I think he could still be very useful for some teams. And I've tweeted this as well, where I've said, you know, I don't think it's fair to put so much criticism on him for their style. Like, how old was he when this team was formed? Like 17, 18, right? You really want to tell me that he's coming in and saying, this is going to be our style? No, that's being, you know, put up from the top down, right? That's being set up by the guys point, the coaching staff, you know, Finn at the beginning, then Groove, right? And sure, you could argue, well, he should have spoken up, but I mean, you all of a sudden went from the academy team to being the number 1 team in the world. Like, there's going to be a sort of lag between how you adjust to things while you're still playing and competing and having success. So I would actually put more of the responsibility when it comes to their play style on Groove than on Nafany. There's definitely a lot of, you know, things Nafany is responsible for as well, and he hasn't been doing an amazing job either. I think some of that is the consequence of wanting to accommodate everyone and sort of giving up a little bit of command, you know, in order to please other people or try to, you know, make some changes so that the team works better. But I think it did more harm than good in the end. I think he's aware of that as well. So yeah, I think, to be honest,
it's hard to keep evolving.
Yeah, in addition to the roster change, put Groove as the GM, get Fierce in there from Fours as a coach. Someone said Innershine tweeted at me, that would have been a good shout, but he went to Aurora, and that's probably the better move, like to go to a smaller team first. But I think Fours, from what we've seen from them at Pro League, and Fierce is also 30-something at this point, so he's also a mature human. I think that with the amount of support that Cloud9 already has and Groove still obviously being there, I think that might be a good way for Cloud9 to mix it up a little bit and add that extra flavor that they're missing in their game.
I think it's interesting to see what's
I tell you what, if you keep Nafany in this roster with this change and there's still struggles, like surely that's got to be like the last straw, right? Like that would be, you can't make that one work.
Well, if he stays with this roster and they play the same and the coach is the same, you still have the same dilemma, no?
Yeah, yeah, I guess. But I mean, yeah,
but I don't think he would stay and play the same. I think he's also had enough of.
Sure. Well, I mean, I guess the only confidence that I thought was cool is when he actually like spoke out. And I mean, look, this is an easy way out for any player, but just like kind of saying. What was the quote? What did he mention? He was like, I've spent too much time like letting other opinions kind of affect the way I'm calling of how other people wanted to play, and I haven't instituted my own style and how I've wanted to do things. Which is like never something you can't really ever confirm from the outside, right? But he's basically just kind of thrown down the gauntlet, and like the same way that Apex did, and he's just like, it's my time now. Like I need to really enforce the way I want to play and the style that I want to institute in this team. And if he does that, if we start hearing those words, then I guess we get to kind of see what the Nafany final form is at this point, or what the last 4 years of in-game leadership has evolved him into.
Yeah, but you got to hope if you're saying stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that,
it better
you gotta hope
better
you
fucking
actually
work.
have the regency to be able to. No, but just to be able to
Sure.
do it as well, though, right? Like, it's one thing to want to do that. There's another to being allowed to, or
Yeah,
being
that's
given the respect to be
Sensitive,
able to do
yeah.
it as well. So that's the thing. Like, it's good when people are a bit more outspoken and they say what's going on or what's on their mind or whatever. But also, there's a lot of things that we never even will see the light of day on or understand what's going on behind the closed doors. We just don't have that level of access, and that's so, you know, I don't know if it's sad. I guess they're taking care of their business. It's a team, but yeah, a lot of it when it comes out, and then you know maybe something goes the other way, it goes tits up, then it makes someone. It can be. This is the thing with the Yakinda stuff, but I know how Janko feels about Mr. Kinder. There's more news about them. Their stuff is. Oh, Jason, you did a little HLTV little.
I
piece,
did.
mate.
I had.
There's a nice little photo
I had a
of
little
you.
blurb in there. I think they call it.
But wait,
Yeah.
before we get into that, while we're still on Cloud9, how do you guys feel about, you know, obviously Nafani and Simple replying to Maui? What's your take on that whole situation?
What do you mean? What do you mean? How do we? How
I mean,
do I feel?
what's your take on it? You know, you think they crossed the line or he crossed the line? What do you think about the whole situation? It's a little bit of drama, Chad. You love to stir the pot.
Well, aren't they
behind the
just
scenes.
replying? Aren't they just replying to Maui's takes?
I mean, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah, so I guess they're entitled to have their opinion as well. I guess.
Yeah,
right?
I don't think anyone was out of line. I don't think tweet whatever the fuck you want. Someone else is more than willing to respond. I think I hate the only thing I'll say about it is I do hate like the trend of like players just being able to kind of drop the line of like you just like don't know what's like you just don't have knowledge of what's going on the inside, and it's like yeah, how are we ever supposed to? You know, like that's such a cop out. I feel like from players when they do it, and like I don't really care because it's just going to happen, and it's not necessarily wrong. It's just we have to form our opinions without all the depth of inside knowledge that you guys have. So I mean, I think that's just an unfair response. But I mean, obviously, players too are always going to have massive amounts of community support in those situations.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think if it's on the Twitter sphere, right? It's just the public
fair game.
square. So if people want to say shit, people can say shit, right? It's people's choice how they use the platform, I guess. And if you break any rules, then Elon will come at you with a ban hammer. That's how it works, right?
Yeah.
that's a good point. I think it was more about just the delivery. I think I talked about this like in some of the post-Paris episode or something like that. It's like, you know, it's of course, and I know players know this, it's fair to get criticism and for us to give them criticism. A lot of it is just about delivery. You can make your point in many different ways, right? And probably the players sometimes feel like they're just being attacked and not even criticized, and that's where they're going to sort of shoot back. But yeah, I agree.
I think as long as it doesn't become nasty,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, I
And
think
it didn't.
that's where stuff is bad. If it becomes nasty and personal and people are being like petty about things, then yeah, that's not so good. But I think if it stays in the realms of what we're talking about with the Counter-Strike and stuff, and people have points on either side or views of how they view it, then I think that's okay. Like when I was a player, we were on the receiving end of criticism, and I'd fucking clap back. You guys know I fucking would say what I would say. Whether I was looking at it from a perspective of a broadcaster or from a perspective of a player, like that evolves and changes over time. So I don't really have a strong opinion either way about how like other people want to conduct themselves, because I'd be a bit of a hypocrite if I did. I just think like there's some stuff you can reach a certain point, and if you push people enough, then they will start replying, right? So that's just the way she goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the way the cookie crumbles.
on to Team Liquid.
Jason's favorite topic.
Let's dive in.
How do you call those? The
How can-
blurbs? Blurs?
Blurbs. You give a little blurb.
Blurbs.
I,
All right.
I don't think they can be. You have to be for complexity now, don't you, Jason? Isn't that officially the rule?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it just like defaults to the next.
Where a leash goes.
Yeah,
Jason goes.
where a leash goes, I follow.
That's so crazy. A leash to complexity, right? How do you feel for Grim, Jason?
I mean, I think it'll be fine. It's kind of like Alicia's sort of stepping into a new team, right? It's like Grim's kind of got the pedigree there, right, to a certain extent. But I don't. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
come
know.
on.
I mean, Look, I think the time where Grim was on the team was obviously, I think, probably Liquid's lowest point that organization and team had been in some time. So I think it's going to be a little bit different. And I think too, I'd hope with this kind of a change, I feel like Elijah's mentality needs to shift because he's now got to be like kind of like the old experienced veteran guard who's like, I mean, I don't mean old as in years, but just experienced. And it's his role to kind of help that team get to the next level and whatever. He can't just come in and expect to be a star player and hop in the server and frag. It's got to be.
But he needs to be a star player.
Well,
right?
but he can't just be.
Him coming.
He can't just be a star player.
Well, I know what you're saying. I think I understand that he needs to come with more than just the fragging, right? I get
but
that.
But this is in regards to like Grim as well, right? Like he needs to be someone who's more responsible for like the environment and the personality in the team, which has not been a strong suit of his across his career.
It could be kind of exciting, right? Because we did see good signs out of Grim and Halzerk, and that was interesting. And then if Elige can come in and contribute like more vintage Elige, he's only 25, right? I don't think we can say he's fucking done. I think if he still wants to play, I think he can.
Here's
play.
Maybe like the best question about the whole like Liquid move is like if you look at the lineup of complexity with Elige and the new Liquid lineup, are you confident that Liquid is the better team?
Bloody hell. I can't believe that question's just been asked. I just spat all over my monitor. Jesus.
What? Is that a bad question?
No, it's just the 27th of June, 2023, and that wasn't a question I expected to be asked today. That's all. It's kind of taken me a bit blindsided.
Are you confident Liquid is the better team? And could you say that look, the RMR is like a long way off, but there's a world in which complexity qualifies for the Americas RMR and Liquid gets nowhere close to qualifying for the next major through the European RMR.
I guess, okay, you've added an extra layer of complexity.
Just start with the first one.
But yeah, let's start with the first one. Let's go player for player. Okay, well, let's go AWPs. Halzerk versus OC. Janko, what are you saying? Who get more output out of?
Well, you get probably,
or are they a 50-50?
You get probably a little bit more. You get more impact from Halzerk, but I don't think OC is bad. I think he can do a lot. It's just now on a team. Before it was Elysian, Yakinder. Now it's Yakinder and Patsy. How much room will he have to go for things in complexity? Halzerk is the number one guy for that. No.
So I think not anymore with Elige. Elige likes to get stuck in, baby.
Probably, yeah. So we'll see how that impacts Halzerk too. As of right now, Halzerk has more impact, but I think I don't know. I have faith in Ossie. I think he can be a good player. He just needs to be allowed to do more things and sort of build up his confidence, right?
Just needs to work on
it's very hard. I think you talked about this,
usage.
Jason. You talked about this earlier. Like it's hard for a player coming into Team Liquid, right? With all these veterans and big names, and you're supposed to come in and command,
especially as
not authority but respect, and say, hey, I don't care that you're Elige and you're a veteran, played for how many years, won the Grand Slam, or UNAF, or whoever, like Nitro, like I need to be doing this thing, which is something like someone like Degster would do. These players they just have a different personality, but I don't think OC has that personality to the same extent, but I think he can be a good player.
He was trying to develop it over in these last couple events for Team Liquid. He was really getting vocal during the games. I think it was during Dallas we saw him a lot, like really getting hyped up and getting involved. So he's trying to kind of develop that little bit more of energy within the team. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it changes now with Patsy and Rainwaker coming in, if he needs to have that or if it's going to kind of fade away. But yeah, I think OC Halzerk, I think OC has another level that we haven't seen yet, and I think we've seen some flashes of it. But I would think Halzerk more consistently is going to have the more impact. I think OC's ceiling is higher. I just don't think he's gotten there yet.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just because when you bring this question up, Jason, it makes me wonder. Am I meant to look at the strengths of the complexity roster? Am I meant to look at the weaknesses of Liquid? I guess I'm meant to look at both. Like, what is your biggest fear with the new Liquid roster? Is it Yakinder in-game leading permanently? Is it the unknown individual in this tier of Counter-Strike of Rainwaker? Is it can Patsy return to the form that we know and love? or will it be the recent form Patsy? That
I mean,
been,
yeah, that's you just kind of, I think you answered your own question. There's like 4 players on Liquid outside of NAF that you could throw a question mark on and be like, okay, what are we going to get from these guys? Is Patsy going to return to that form that we all got happy and excited about? Is Rainwaker going to look good? Is he going to be able to handle it? Is he going to be good enough to play at this level out of the gate? Is Yakinder as an in-game leader going to be good enough? Is OC going to find the next level? You know, like there's an if statement pretty much all the way down that roster.
Okay, so whereas the Elige thing, it's just one new player coming into a team that already exists. It is definitely an experience upgrade in terms of firepower upgrade. You would say yes as well. And in terms of the potential of what he can offer the team, if he finds good Elige form again, it could. Okay, so I see how you can set that question up quite simply and easily to find like the answer. Yeah, complexity very much could defeat them. I think that would be a fair summary of events.
Yeah.
There's your answer. It took me a while to get there, but I thought about it.
No, I mean, it'll just...
And I think it's
Yeah,
probable.
it's just going to be interesting to see because I think, complexity with the way they've, like a lot of this year, like knocked on the door, had some good upset wins and some decent showings without getting over the hump of like a strong win or a really strong tournament run since Katowice. They seem like they're knocking on the door. And I mean, you add someone like Elige into it, and depending on how that goes, that could be the next step. I think it's a massive upgrade over Fang, who showed skills, but didn't have, I think, decision making and game understanding was probably a little bit of an issue, and those good performances were too few and far between. I mean, Elige is going to solve pretty much all those problems right out of the gate.
Well, I'm kind of going to segue here
Sure.
a little bit, gentlemen. I like, you know me, I like to bounce all over the place.
It's just like one point is someone said it in that blurb thing. I think it was, it was Maniac who said, that he wished if they're going to go EU, they went for like bigger fish.
Yeah, I think
Like
that,
try to get up, probably I guess that mostly is for Rainwaker, because I think for Patsy we've seen enough to know that he's a good player.
Yeah, I think he's not wrong necessarily, but I don't know. I look at this as like a different, like this is their first step into Europe, and I think, you obviously would have liked to have seen them get some bigger fish. I know they kind of wanted to be in the Flames market as well. That obviously didn't happen. But I don't know. It's just like their first step forward. I think the first step into like the European side of things. So I didn't expect them to like come out of the gates and have anything like super crazy for myself when I heard they were going down this road. I don't know. I would have liked. I kind of talked to a couple of them in Dallas, and I was more along the lines of, I think they should have gone. I would have rather have seen them gone for like a Brazilian player or like stay in the Americas. If for no other reason, obviously for the region, but then also for the major.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question with that. So, like, let's say that you were to stay American, right? Who's the best player they could have gotten right now as a replacement?
I think it could have been. I think there's a couple routes they could have gone. Some more unlikely, some likely. I think they could have maybe made a play for automatic if they'd really wanted to. If you went into this,
is automatic good enough to put them as one of the best teams
I think
in the
if you
world?
bolster it with like if you had gone the route of another European next to Yakinder and then have automatic come in place of I don't if the lineup.
Let's say you were replacing Elysian.
Yeah. If you
right?
had like Yakinder,
I'm with
OC,
you.
NAF.
There's only 2 players, Jason, who from that you could plug and play that. And we could talk about whoever the 5th is until the cows come home. Let's assume it's still Patsy.
Yeah, if it was automatic and Patsy,
like, it
was automatic instead of Rainwaker, and you had this lineup.
I don't think automatic's enough.
Okay.
I feel like you'd either have to be a Grim or have to be a Queserado. If it was one of those two, then yeah. If you get one of those 2 players, then maybe it justifies staying.
It would have
North
been great
American
to get Queserado. I think you could have also gone maybe explored towards Pain and seen what you could have done with Pain. I still think like that partner, that duo of Big Uzera and Skulls is like a really, really interesting duo that could have been brought into this team. You have another in-game, like for me, I would have loved that because I don't want Yakinder to in-game lead. I don't want him to be the in-game leader.
This fear of this in-game leader thing as well. I have a question. Do we not just default assume that he was already doing a lot of those responsibilities since he joined the team? Because the discourse in the beginning was essentially about Liquid not being up to date with the way that the game is currently being played and him bringing them up to speed.
I think for a lot of it, I don't think Yakinder was in-game leading, but I think it was like Nitro in-game leading with mostly Yakinder philosophies and ideas.
Yeah, so then
which is, I guess, it works out to the
really,
same end result, end product.
Yeah, and as a player playing his roles, he definitely would have been calling like his spawns, and he definitely would have been calling like reactions off of things he would have been doing and stuff, right? So there was already a really like large Yakinda influence from an in-game leading perspective, and it's been a mixed bag, right? Like I just default to the assumption that he already was one of the main controlling factors of the team since he's joined. And then I look at their results, and they've been, some good, some not so good, right? And now they're looking to go down a path with him as officially the leader, and they're bringing in Patsy, who hasn't been performing well as of late, and Rainwaker, who is untested at that caliber of Counter-Strike. But we just keep circling back to that, right? So that loop, it feels too many things have to go right, I think, is what you might be feeling.
I'll say this: when I spoke to them, I spoke to Daps and Yakinda. I actually told Yakinda straight up to his face. I didn't think he was going to be a good in-game leader. I told him I didn't. I told him, I was like, I don't want you to in-game lead. Like, just go frag. Just go be like the playmaker. I don't want you in-game leading. But I spoke to him and Daps, and they were both speaking very, very highly of Rainwaker. They were very excited to have him. They did a lot of research into him. And like I kind of said in my blurb, Daps has a great resume of finding, hidden talent and bringing up new talent. He's done it across his whole career. And sneakily, he's been like a really, really good at developing and finding new players across his career. So, I think for me, part of what gives me a little bit of hope and a little bit of runway on the Team Liquid project to just like kind of wait and see before like kind of damning anything is Daps kind of lends me that confidence of the fact that he's done it so many times in the past. So he's kind of the brain as a coach who's giving me a little bit of faith and giving them a little bit of runway in my estimation, in my esteem. Okay. I will say one thing about this blurb, because this part not necessarily bothered me. The Launders one where he's like, this is roughly the worst thing that's ever happened to North American Counter-Strike. Like, I think that was like, I think the idea of like really damning Liquid for this kind of a play, I think is really unreasonable and a little bit short-sighted. I think like in terms of like EG level mismanagement, I think is really unreasonable to throw at Liquid for this kind of a move into Europe. I don't know. I think but I've seen a lot of sentiment about that, like on Twitter, on Reddit, just from the community. And I think it's all like a little bit crazy. Like Liquid doesn't have any like real, in my mind, like Liquid doesn't have any responsibility to the North American region, right? They've been here for 8 or 9 years. It's not like they're trying to be the best in North America. They want to be the best team in the world, and they don't think they can accomplish that in North America, which I think is fair.
Amen, Jason.
And like we always praise, like up until this situation, we've always praised teams who make moves to try and win, not just to like, try and just keep the status quo. And for whatever reason, in this one instance where Liquid's like, yeah, we want to win a major and we feel like we have to move to Europe to do it, it's like all of a sudden that is no longer like something that people are excited about. And I don't know. I think it's crazy the amount of flack that Liquid's taking for this kind of a play when you consider the state of the North American scene. I don't like. They have their responsibility is to their own team and to their own organization to have the best team possible, and it's just not possible in North America. So why the fuck are we bagging on them so hard? That's exactly what they should be doing.
Bang. Mic drop, walks out of the room. The crowd
and it should have been fucking obvious. I think I even talked about this almost a year ago. Like when you bring Yakinda in, like, yeah, it's a great pickup for the moment, but did no one else like notice that? Like I brought this up on the podcast. Like it's a perfect pivot point if things continue to go south in North America. All of a sudden you have one of the younger, like potential future star players, super charismatic. You have a piece to build around in Europe if you want to make this kind of a transition if things aren't getting better. And like it all seemed laid out for this exact move to be happening down the road, and it did. That's it. I'm good.
I'm going to sneeze.
You feel anything about, I guess you don't care the fact that they also lost the spot for the
No, that part obviously sucks. Although oddly enough, I think in like some weird, stupid silver
it's
lining.
Not their concern, basically.
Well, yeah, it's not. But I mean, I think the biggest point of criticism I have for the play for Team Liquid is they're no longer in the Americas RMR. Which, like, again, this lineup, do you look at it and say they're going to be able to qualify through an RMR that Cloud9 couldn't qualify through, that FaZe almost didn't qualify through? So, I mean, I think that's going to be something they're really going to have to contend with, and I think that's going to be painful for them because the Americas RMR is so much easier. year. But also, losing that one spot over to the Americas RMR is almost like a silver lining because it at least gets rid of that like shit format that we had to do like Swiss system for 2 losses instead of 3 the last time around. It like evens up the numbers.
Horrible.
So like there's at least that. And I don't know. I mean, oddly enough, I think the Americas RMR with only I think it's down to 4 spots now to the major. I think that's even going to increase the difficulty of the Americas RMR, not because the teams are necessarily better, but just because there's less spots to go around. So I don't know. There's I think that major spot for Liquid though not being in the Americas, I think is the biggest criticism you could levy at this kind of a switch.
Damn. Jason, welcome to the dark side. It's really nice to have you on this side of the fence. It's really nice here. The water's warm. We have, what's your favorite drink, Jason? We have them around the clock. They just keep coming. It's nice over here, man. Welcome. It's great to have you.
It is. The weather's nice.
It's great to have you over here. We're broken through the barrier. We're through the membrane.
Yeah.
We're now on our way.
Unplugged.
Ah, that feels so good. What do you guys think about the most recent news of today? The degster situation as far as it pertains to mouz and fnatic, who could be interested in degster, not dexter. That was an overdrive tweet.
I think I said it on the last episode that I think degster should go to mouz with Sui for Torji. So I like that idea. Fnatic, I have no idea what's going on. I don't even know how to judge anything because they apparently are changing like the entire roster.
Well, one of the more recent reports about the Fnatic situation, I don't even know what constitutes a report anymore. One of the more recent things that was on the internet said that I think it was Roy and Mezzi were staying. I think Fasher has been linked elsewhere. Nikodos, I'm not sure where he's going.
Is just done?
Fasher was linked to OG.
Okay, Fasher was linked to OG. Yes, I don't know about Krim.
Krim's to eyeballers.
Anything about Krim? Oh, with Flusher and JW.
I mean, I haven't seen it. I'm just...
They're back together.
Yeah.
No, but I don't know. I don't know what's happening for Krims. He's in a bit of an interesting situation.
How valuable do you think Krims is as a player to other top teams in Europe?
If Krims was going to if Krims was going to NIP and Nork was going as well, and it was a full Swedish team, right, with Hampus, Rez, Brolin, then maybe I think that there could be some value they could get out of like that team, like being full Swedish roster with those players. Otherwise, I don't know for Krims. That's the problem because he's essentially a franchise player at Fnatic who's aged out, right? Like he's had his whole career with this one club, this one team, and now he's at the end. He's at the end of the road right now, where the team is no longer Swedish, so he can't just be that veteran rock anymore. And they're pivoting everywhere. They could go wherever they want with the roster of the team right now, considering they're basically liquidating the whole thing. So I wouldn't say Krims is a priority piece for them, and I don't know where he would go unless it was a Swedish roster, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, that is unfortunate.
I don't know.
I think Degster to mouz would be really cool. I think if it's Shuhei, Frozen, JDC, Degster, and Exertion, I think that's a scary lineup. That's a cool lineup that I want to see play.
Yeah, I think they need to get someone better than Torji. That's for sure. And then you look at the fact that degster is still 21, Exertion is 18, Shui 20, JDC 23.
You got a really nice
and Frozen 20. Like the
it's crazy that Frozen
oldest
is only
player
20.
is JDC, is 23. Yeah, Frozen with all his experience. Same like Brolan. Like both of them came up very young. I think you also have like super young players, so they're relatable, right? Like they can be, I think it's easier for them. It's going to be easier for them to build chemistry. Degster, one of those loud guys as well. I think though, being in mouz and having Cyclone as the coach, and they have their system, and also Shui now coming back, was obviously Cyclone has been his coach in the academy team, like sort of reining in Degster just a little bit, like being like, hey, you can go for your moves and everything, but the whole game, you're not going to be our game plan, right? which maybe was the case a little bit in OG. Maybe he was having a little bit too much freedom, and then the rest of the team was maybe suffering a little bit because of that lack of structure, or when he doesn't get it going.
I never felt like OG had a game plan. I think they just let everyone off the leash.
Well, let's hope their coach isn't listening to this podcast.
He'll be pissed.
He'll tear you a new one on social media, Jason. But yeah, so I think it's definitely an upgrade over Torji. There's no doubt about that. So I think if degster is able to, if he's matured a little bit and sort of understands the situation which he's in, I think both him and the team can flourish. And yeah, for Fnatic, it's hard to tell without knowing how the rest of the team shapes up, right? It could also absolutely be a destination for him. But I like the mouz thing because, you know, he has initiative, he's passionate, he's vocal. I think that could be a good landing spot for him.
Yeah, there's a few that are unsettled, right? That we still the jury's not in on, right? We know Heroic, Vitality, FaZe, G2. What do you guys think now that the Vitality news is official? It wasn't official when we were doing the app the other day, was it? What do you guys think now? Because there obviously was some fallout with tweets and things, and obviously it's Dupree. Now we don't know what the future is going to hold for him as a player, other than this TSM rumor. Which was circulating yesterday.
The Astralis solution that I think Janko came up with last week was an intriguing one.
Yeah, well, they signed fucking Borup.
Yeah.
So, like, Astralis have their 5 now. That Borup play and Glaive going to the bench that wasn't done either, was it?
I don't think so. That happened
after?
like that day in the evening.
Yeah. I was so surprised.
I was so
surprised to see Glaive drop from the lineup.
I never saw the Glaive one
either.
coming. That was I couldn't believe it. So that means now Blame's going to in-game lead. They bring back Borup, which
Is he there for a while?
Well, they're not bringing. What I mean is where's Borup been?
Yeah. Okay.
You know, we haven't seen Borup around in a while. Like he was in Copenhagen Flames and stuff. He was at Mad Lions for a little while. This is after Heroic. We haven't really seen a lot of him in recent time. Whereas the stair pickup makes a bit more sense from what we saw with Sprout. So that was a curious one, kind of a bit more adding to the blindsiding with the Glaive removal. But yeah, like Glaive done now, Dupree's gone. It's like, okay, well, what the fuck happens next?
Yeah, I thought they were going to give Glaive like a chance with this, like once the roster changes were made, and he will stay and do it. But feels like they really want to turn that new leaf. They got rid of the general manager, I guess. The assistant coach who had a lot of influence, and the in-game leader,
the head tactician.
Yeah. That did happen. So yeah, that was surprising. Absolutely. I mean, imagine someone told you like 2 years ago that Glaive was going to be up for grabs in free agency or whatever, right? That you could get him on your team. I think for someone like EG, for example, that would have been maybe great. Right, to a great pickup to build like a team around them and maybe get some young guys in there and whatnot. But yeah, you know what surprises me? Like, where's Hashtag? What's going on with that guy? He had that really short, successful stint in Astralis during the online period, and that earned him a lot of money going to Cloud9 with that lineup.
Isn't he just benched at NIP?
Yeah, exactly.
Like no one's going to want to buy him from NIP.
Yeah, but I don't think he's, at this point, he can't be expensive. Like, NIP doesn't want him. They don't need him. Like, they're not going to just keep him on the bench for no reason. I can't. There's no way he's, like, more than 100K. And even 100K is too much. Like, I would put it like 50, 60K maybe, right? Like, isn't that, why don't get him instead of Borup? Like, if you're looking for that.
He's 27. I was
going to say, I hate to take this angle, but like, he's not exactly like an explosive player. You kind of know what you're going to get. He's 27 and you got CS2 coming out. Like, wouldn't you rather take a gamble on a younger player? I mean, I hate saying that because I've always liked Hashtag. I think he's actually a really good piece of a team, but.
Yeah, but I mean, with the other guys that you already have on the, you have Device and Blame there. Now you have Stair, who's 18, and you have Buzz, who's 20 and hasn't shown us anything yet, right? Like, you get even Aztec. I mean, now, obviously, they might have not known that the pre-thing is happening when they already made their changes in their team, right?
Yeah.
Maybe now they could use Dupree instead of Buzz, let's say, right?
That'd be interesting.
So, Yeah, I think, listen, if you had a team, Device, Blame, Stare, Estag, and Dupree, I think that's the best lineup that Astralis can make to win soon, to be competitive soon. Like here you have question. I think, Stare is still a question mark to some extent, right? Like I personally believe he's really good and he's going to be good, but he's only 18, so you have to see whether he can perform consistently on the tier 1 level and frag out. Like there's a lot of pressure now on the Device, Blame, Stare core to frag all the time and to be super consistent. Like you have Buzz, who was just sent into the meat grinder and didn't really have any impact. Are you still waiting for him to develop? And then you have Borab, who's supposed to be the new Zipex of this Astralis team, where it's like you can say, okay, he's a support player, can't have too much impact, but remember all the impact that Zipex was having in his heyday. So you can't completely ignore that position. He needs to be able to pull his own weight. I think for sure they're going to be more interesting to watch, but I feel like with some of the pieces available, they could still upgrade. I think they should still change. Like they should put Buzz back in the academy team and get someone better. Refresh isn't on EG anymore.
It was a good ride though. It was a good couple of months.
Yeah, a good couple of weeks, it feels like. But I feel like there's pieces available that are not going to be expensive. You could get them for free, and sure, the salary is probably going to be higher than Buzz or Bora, but I mean, You're
just saying that, is this essentially like they could make some changes now which would put them in a position to be more competitive
yes,
quicker?
exactly.
Okay. Because I think like that's the thing. It depends on what their time frame's looking at right now. Like if they want to try and be the best team tomorrow, then yeah, I agree they should probably try and make a couple of changes. But this is where it gets a bit tumultuous out there. I don't know what comes next, right? I'm also curious like how long deals and stuff are going to be getting signed for at the moment with some new players. Like are players going to want to be signing on to fucking multi-year deals anymore? Without it just end up in like contract jail and put up on benches?
At the moment, they're being shopped as shorter term deals to see how CS2 changes the landscape.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if that's like commonplace or common practice with business,
it's also curious because I know the teams want longer deals, the players want shorter deals.
Yeah, well, the players are probably learning now that they can just get locked away. And like, look, there's so many examples over history of players just getting locked on the bench and nobody wanting them, and then they're just gone, right? They just fucking disappear. And it's like, you don't want that to be happening to you. If you're a star player, you'd be signing up for a multi-year deal, no problem. It's all good. Fucking put me on, boss, and away you go. But I think for some people who are a bit more floating around or not too certain of their position in the climate, those shorter, CS2 as well. Like, what if everything gets shook up, right? Like, what if everything kind of just completely? Wow, it's not gonna, but maybe. You never know. Anything's possible. So you have to live in the world where anything's possible. To
answer your original question on all this, I like the Vitality change. I think it was the right change to make to bring someone in for Dupree.
Even still. Even with all the discourse, what did you think of the discourse?
I don't know exactly. I didn't pay too much attention to the discourse because I thought it was just like a pretty blatantly good decision. I like what Zonik said, and I gotta say, you gotta have a ton of respect for someone like Zonik, who that had to have been a fucking heartbreaking decision and realization to come to. That it was the right play. So I got all the respect in the world.
I'm curious how much say he gets with that.
Yeah, right? But I feel like that's fair. But I feel like Zonik would. I think I don't know. I have a very high estimation of Zonik, so I would assume he would notice that and realize, like, for the better of the team and for the future of the team and the organization, that's the play you have to make when you have the opportunity.
How he's evaluating it. Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I didn't really pay any attention to any discourse because I think for me it was like an open and shut case. It was just the right move. It was like people actually. I saw the tweet from I think it was Launders, who said that people were calling Zonik a backstabber or something like that, which I thought was fucking crazy. I didn't see any of that, but if it's true, that's mental in my mind. Like that's just the nature of the business.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not getting into the back pages too much of if people are calling him those type of things. Maybe they were.
What discourse are you speaking of? Can I ask that question?
No, just the general discourse. I didn't have
No
any,
specifics.
Just Chad stirring the pot. Not even sure which pot he's stirring.
I didn't have anything in particular. I was just, the people. I know that the people are talking about. Because if you came up with something interesting, then maybe I would have been like, oh, that's interesting.
Nah, man. Like I'm with the Zonic angle. I saw that move and I was like, yep, that's the exact play you got to make. I think Dupree, credit to him as well. He found a fucking perfect time to peak and roll back the years just enough to help him get through the major and win that trophy. And I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting seeing him say that he still wants to compete. I actually.
Well, have you seen this? I know you're talking about Dupree right now, but have you seen this here? Scroll down to, it's like the fourth graphic or whatever. So this was an article that HLTV put out. Nero did. It called it "Stat Check: How will Flames fit into Vitality?"
I have not looked at this article.
And then it has this has got Flames positions in defaults. So on the regular rounds, from what he was doing in OG to the position overlap with the player that he's replacing or the other members of the team. So like on the CT side, you can see he has a lot of overlap with somebody like Apex.
It doesn't open for me. Is it down for you guys?
Doesn't open for you?
Yeah, I have it.
No, I'm on it right now. Can you go to this link here, Janko? Maybe that works. Maybe because that's essentially what we're looking at there. But regardless, it's got like Anubis, CT side, Flames plays B connector. Currently for Vitality, that Sphinx is there. Inferno, Flames plays B rotator. Apex plays that role. Mirage, A connector. Apex plays that role. Nuke, Flames plays A main. Sphinx plays that role. Flames B rotator on overpass. Apex plays that role. Vertigo, A rotator. Apex plays that role for Vitality. So like that's just CT sides here. But this is obviously just very face value, and they can change things up. Like obviously, there's no reason that they couldn't change these positions or want to change the constellation of how things are going. But it's more showing like Flames isn't a direct like swap for Dupree and what Dupree is currently offering in terms of actual positions in the server. So I just thought it's an interesting way to look at it, right? Because that means things will likely change, or maybe he does just plug into everything Dupree was doing, and Flames has to learn the new positions and roles. I just think it's an interesting discussion.
They'll probably. I mean, Apex will probably give up a few roles for Flames on certain maps, and he'll probably keep some on certain maps. Flames will have to. I mean, look, my opinion that I think you get this idea that players are like attached to these roles, these spots and positions. I think to me seems a little crazy that you would come in and be like, these are the spots I play. So I'd hope that someone like Flames, who's 20 years old and hasn't won an event yet, is willing to try some new roles and learn some new positions on maps,
Well, yeah, and teams play maps differently as well, right? So within those positions, they maybe are approaching with different preference of how they want to hold certain lines and stuff, or what territory.
And remember the conversation that Apex just had. I think was it in Dallas maybe, where he mentioned on Mirage the reason maybe it was in DC, the reason they made that change to him to like A connectors, he felt like they needed a little bit more crazy there compared to someone, I think it was Sphinx who was playing there before. Like they needed a little bit more chaos and someone who wanted to be a little bit more insane, they felt.
Take a few more risks.
So I mean, if they're making decisions based off that, I don't think there's any reason. Flame strikes me as someone who's a little bit crazier than Sphinx as well. So he can probably fill some of those situations. But yeah, Vitality's obviously shown they're willing to mix things up in terms of positions and roles. So it'll probably be an adjustment. I bet we'll see it move around a little bit in the first few months.
I think it's more like, I think it's a little bit of obviously making the team younger, because you had Apex, Dupree, and Magisk in there, right? So now the majority of the team.
I think Magisk is pretty young, isn't he? He's nearly like 24 or
He's
something.
older than that, for sure. I think he's got to be 25 and
25.
26.
He's 25.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I'm off.
I think,
That's
he's
not a
not
bad
super
guess.
old, but I think you also have to take into account, better to say he's a veteran, right? Like he's
seasoned, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's seasoned, right? So sometimes there is a little bit of maybe fatigue or being jaded with some of these guys, right? Like, I mean, you getting into your year 10 as a pro, right? Like you're not going to have the same level of motivation most likely as someone like Flames, right? Who's in like year 3. I'm not just, I'm not saying I don't know anything. I'm just like speculating here, but just shooting the shit. But I think that might have been one of the...
No, but
and
that's a
Flame
fair
is like,
assumption.
from our interactions with him, I think we can all agree, like, he's a great kid who's very passionate about the game, very hardworking, he's skilled, and he's going to listen to whatever he's being told. Like, if they tell him you need to play these positions, he'll spend 50 hours a day, trying to get better at playing that position. So I think from that, you just get like a great long-term solution for your team, right? And now you have a core of Spinks, Zaiwu, and Flames that's a lot of firepower and really skilled, with also having experience with Magisk and Apex and obviously Zonic, right? And that's the thing. Like, could Dupree still be with the team and they can be a contender for, the end of the year for sure? Next major, I would say so as well. But much more after that, I mean, you'd probably be looking to make that change. Now they just made it so that their window is much longer for when they need to become good with this lineup. It's basically aiming for the first major of next year, right? So that gives you plenty of time to figure things out, fail, and then make adjustments, and again be in a position where you can lift that trophy. It's one of those changes that's like, if you're Zonic, you don't want to make it necessarily, but you know that it's the right move. And
Who do you think Zonic outlasts all the Astralis players? Do you think he's still coaching and all of them are retired? Or do you?
Yeah, I think so.
If he wants to.
Or potentially move into some upper management role, potentially. Like, I think he as well at some point will get too tired from all the traveling and everything and being away from his family, But I think, I don't know. I don't know him that well so that I can say. But I think he's going to be around for a long time.
Yeah, well, it feels like it. And I guess as we continue to grow, we're going to keep pushing those boundaries and learning more about that little direction of things. I'm trying to look at what other
But then,
roster changes.
this like TSM rumor or whatever it is.
Why is no one pissed at TSM as an
where
American
does
organization for aiming for European teams?
No, where does Dupree go after this? Like, do we feel like... sure, he said he still wants to win a major, but can he really land in a team that would be that... I guess it has to be someone like TSM who just makes a team with a lot of like good players, then somehow they click. But it's looking more for our boy Dupree, just get that bag, son.
Yeah, do it. I think
it's that time of your career. I don't know. That's maybe a little bit disrespectful. But I think for players like him at this point, it's either like Apex did, either pick up the in-game leader mantle and extend your career, right, when it comes to playing being on tier 1 teams, right? Or simply sort of, go for a team like TSM who's going to have to pay you a lot of money to play for them and then ride that out. Obviously, you're still competing, you're still doing your best, but you're probably not going to have the pieces necessary to actually be a contender.
Well, let's be real with the report that's coming out from TSM and the players they're looking at. It's not looking like they're going to try and enter with a contender right out of the gate. Dupree, Jackson, Searson, not going for any like crazy home runs that are going to put them on the map immediately. I think that this would be more of like a starting team, and you'd be planning on making changes as they present themselves along the way. If this is a real conversation that Dupree's having, I think if I'm TSM, if I'm the GM, I'm just saying I'm more than happy to give Peter or to give Dupree his bag and say, we want you here to like help get this team going. We're going to give you like a 2-year contract, and we want more than anything, we want you here to help set the culture of the team right out of the gate and the organization right out of the gate as we kind of build a contender. That would be my goal.
It's so hard though, like, because the more parties that enter the space, right? Unless they and I know that there was the talk about Valve telling TOs that they weren't too happy with the partner stuff. But like in the current model, like operating as we have right now, the more parties that enter, unless they're willing to front up significant amount of money to enter the larger leagues, where are we looking at seeing them compete? And then that would have to start to come from places where they would have to earn points or exactly, right? So starting as a brand new org or a brand new team in this current landscape it's really quite difficult. Like how do you get going? How are you meant to just come together and get into events and stuff? And sure, there's other events that aren't ESO or Blast events, but the majority of the circuit is covered there. So I don't know the back end of how these orgs try and make money in the first place, right? But I don't see the incentive, right? Because unless you're willing to buy into a Blast or an ESL partnership venture thing, then you're going to have a bit of a rough time just getting exposure on your team. You could have some of the best players in the world playing on a fucking Pinnacle Cup online, with the grand final being on a Tuesday or some shit. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like, well I don't know. We just,
I don't know why that's so funny to me, but yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
It's because
I don't
Chad
know.
just
I
played
don't
in the
know.
grand final on a Tuesday. It's fresh in his mind.
Oh yeah, that's true.
it could be. Yeah, don't fucking bring that shit up again, Jason.
I was
Don't
I was
fucking bring
I
that
was
up to me,
casting it
man.
on Tuesday. It was weird for me as well.
Yeah. What a time
It
to be
was.
alive. That was only
Yeah.
a week ago.
It was only a week ago. It feels like a
Holy
year.
shit. Yeah, it does. It really, really does.
well-
Janko, was it you who was saying that with the Blast Fall groups that, like, the way that you understand from teams or whatever, your gist of it, your vibe of it, is like it'd be treated a bit more like a boot camp environment. So I was
Man,
trying
that's
to think
because I'm talking to these teams, trying to get them to come to the boot camp, but they're like, well, we won't do anything before Blast because, we'll just use Blast for it. Because it's like, there's so many days in there and not a lot on the line, and it's not that difficult to qualify. And, I mean, you have like a couple of days sometimes between your matches. What are you going to do? So seeing as how the break is already short for the players as it is, like a lot of teams of these, veteran players and veteran teams decide to give the players a little bit of extra time for vacation, especially this one, because it's fucked with how they changed the dates of it, right? Like a lot of people had to change their plans or whatnot. So yeah, I mean, that's basically what I got.
Yeah, no, but I was kind of, because now we're in the middle of the break. We're obviously looking at the second half of the year and what comes up, and with all these changes, like we know we've got the foreboding CS2 at some point, but we also are looking at still like a heavy tournament season. There's a big gap in the calendar because the major's not there at the moment. Maybe something could fill that. Who knows? And I mean that truly. I don't know if anything is going to fill the void of the RMRs and the major, if anyone's going to try and snap up that space. But we come out in 16 days' time, right? That's when the Blast 4 groups start. In 16 days' time, we're back. We're back in action, right? So we go back in action. The teams that are there, right, are the ones that Heroic, Vitality, they've made a change. Okay, Heroic haven't made a change. FaZe haven't made a change. G2 haven't made a change. Everybody else there will have made a change, right? Vitality has Flames. Na'Vi is meant to be overhauling the whole roster. Liquid we've spoken about. NIP bring back Hampus. Astralis, little shake-up. OG completely new. Big promoting a couple of guys from the academy. EG promoting a team. And Complexity bringing in a Liege, right? So we have so much change going there. Those are the teams that are going to be getting that quote-unquote boot camp during the Blast time, where it's going to be officials under higher pressure to start working everything out, because then Cologne happens pretty quickly after, right? Cologne's in 28 days. So then Cologne's going to go down, and that's going to be where teams... I'm kind of looking at it. You want to come in, you want to get in shape as quickly as possible at the start of the season to try and quickly snatch Cologne when everybody's still raw.
Yeah, so that's why a lot of the teams are like, they're going to practice online for a week or 10 days or whatever it is that they set it up, and then they go into 2 weeks of Blast, right? So yeah, you have your officials, and then you practice heavy from there, because after that you won't have really any time to practice. You have to go to Cologne. It's just ridiculous. I'm looking at this on the HLTV page, and only 5 of the teams are in the top 10. Like you get 1, 2, 3, 4 with Heroic, Vitality, FaZe, G2. Na'Vi is 8, and that's even with the old roster. And then Liquid is 11. So it's going to be like...
But there'll be a lot of teams with changes all in that same time period trying to get in shape for Cologne, right?
How many? 6 out of the 12 teams make it, right? So you can understand with... I don't want to sound too harsh, but with big EG complexity, OG being there, why the likes of FaZe, G2 are, who didn't make any changes, are not really going to boot camp before this. Can't blame them.
But yeah, it's also like they're going to have the showdown as well, right? The fucking half of the teams qualify, right? So it's not the highest of stakes, right? And it also means they get to be a bit more on their break. And for some of the names who are already established, like rosters, like a Heroic, a FaZe, a G2, who aren't changing anything, coming back from the break, they don't need to start from scratch. Whereas some of these completely overhauled rosters are going to have to start from scratch, right? Like
Liquid
exactly
starting from zero.
So if Gamer Legion have Gamer Legion are a bad example, they're not in this event, but I was just flicking through the page. There'll be some of the names that were
Who
here
knows who's
that are going to have to start. Yeah, that's true too. So there's a lot of that to have to consider. But it basically goes back with some Counter-Strike on LAN with Blast in the groups, a bit at lower stakes, but we warm into it. We go into Cologne, like a top tier event, really quickly, which is unusual. Normally that's end of the season. Cologne's going to end. Then we've got the Gamers 8 thing, which has Heroic, Vitality, FaZe, G2, ENT, Cloud9, Gamer Legion, Na'Vi, Apex, Liquid, Furia, VP, Fnatic, MIBR, Falcons, and TBD. But it's a European qualifier, and so it could be a good team. And it has $1 million
That's
prize
a banging
purse.
lineup.
We don't know the distribution, but that's a lot of money.
Well, is
that's good? Yeah.
for charity or people make that money?
No, they make that money.
money.
That's for them.
All right.
Yeah, that's for them. And then in 64 days from now, we have Pro League, right? And then Pro League's going to... So then this is going to be a bit more like a Blast groups in the sense that it's just going to be a lot more matches and the stakes are going to feel... Well, actually, no, with the new format...
Pro League's going to be a great time.
No, it still has the last chance.
It's going to
be
a
fun from
great
us
time.
on the broadcast. We're going to enjoy ourselves.
Hell yeah.
But in terms of like where this fits, I guess this is going to be just a bit of a smaller tour stop on the road. And then what do we have to finish off the year? We've got the Copenhagen event for Blast, right? Their fall finals. We've got the showdown at some point in there. We've got IEM Sydney and we've got the Blast World Finals. That's it. That's the year. So in this now backstretch of the year, the big ones to look forward to are Cologne, which is going to roll around really quickly, and the fall finals. Those are the two big events, the two big arena events we have for the next 6 months.
How big do you think Gamers 8 is going to be?
Oh, wait, there's the Espo event, right? I don't know. I have no idea how that's going to be.
I mean, with $1 million prize pool, you feel like it kind of automatically makes it big, but I have no clue. I have no clue what the vibe's going to be like. Yeah, this season it's going to gear up and then it's going to wind down really quickly. I think your point too, like surely something's popping up in that major spot, right? Surely there's one other like third party
Hopefully,
event.
I don't know, man. Like the Espo event from Alyssa or whatever it is going to be happening again, which was pretty good last year.
Yeah,
in terms
that's
of its
usually
turnout.
cool.
I would like, but it's like this is why and the turnaround it can't possibly be happening. But we would have enough to do like a proper World Cup thing in the window of time we have right now, right? We just have no way to turn that around in the necessary amount of time. We just don't have the funds to be able to lift something up and just fucking get that sorted. Fuck, boys. It's starting to heat up in my room. Let me take a look in 1 second. I just took a breath and went, the air just got real hot. Listen. Let me explain. Because my building is unfortunately positioned that during the morning hours, it doesn't get the sun. But in the afternoon hours, it gets the fucking full face
Of the
attack
Maltese
of the
sun.
sun setting. Just fucking, right now, it is... What are we looking at? It's not super hot, 28 degrees right now. So it's not mega hot, but the sun is just blaring at me, just looking at me in the face. My building's painted white to try and reflect the sun, make sure we don't cop too many of those rays, and we're still, in the afternoon, it's just a beating. It just says, fuck you. And that's what's happening right now. So, it just hit me.
Cool. A team I want to touch on that I think is going to be exciting to watch in the second half of the year is Spirit. I think
Okay.
with this Donk kid,
It's an off-meta pick.
There's been so much chatter
Donk.
about him and like being, really skilled, dominating like in the academy team and whatnot. He's only
The Pee Wee Leagues, I think
he's
they call
only 16 years old. And there
What if we
was
called the
even some
Academy League the
silly
Pee Wee
rumor
League,
that like
Janko?
Vitality was considering him at
Yeah,
some
I
point.
saw that.
Which tells you that obviously it's not really, I don't guess it's a fit thing. It's just that they feel like maybe they felt at some point he's this outwardly talent that they have to at least take a look at him, right? So Spirit, and I've heard a little bit, some of these other names, Zontix and Artfrost, people who know the region, they hold them also, in high regard in a sense of, that they are, pretty skilled, like pretty sharp kids too. So somehow, some way, every single time, Spirit manages to find like young players who are just super sick. So I think low key with Chopper and who's the last guy that's staying on that team, Magix. I think again like Spirit might be able to whip something up where they're again that team spirit, the exciting team to watch. And
Uncle Chop Chop in the Uncle Chop shop, fucking ripping a couple of little young ones together and putting together a good team. That's what you're saying.
I think so. I don't know what you guys think.
I think that I've been scorned by Spirit several times before. I've gotten on the hype train and I've been riding it and I've been really excited. And then, it doesn't take me to my destination. It was like an express train, but I didn't realize that it went past my city. I was unfamiliar.
Sure.
I was visiting.
Then you're in an unfamiliar part of town
now,
and it's no fun.
Yeah, and it's a Sunday, so the trains aren't running very frequently either. So, but I don't know. I think it's a good shout because they do just seem to spew talent there, and this kid is quite mechanically sound. So, I like the fact as well that they do these. Well, they're not. I guess it is an overhaul, right? It's almost an overhaul, but Chopper's still there. So I'm curious if they come up and they just mold them to what they want them to be. And is that going to be the same as what we saw before? Does Chopper just work with the new pieces he has and the extra information because they were in the academy roster, so they already have like a leg up of how they want to approach the game? I'm always really curious of how you do this stuff because, like, back in the day, you just jump in the server and you go, okay, what are we doing? And then you just scrim. Now things are a bit more... Are you still feeling each other out? Are you going and doing that in Face-It games? Like, how are you working out how you even want to use these players? Because 16 years of age, man, fucking hell. That's when I was paying like $25 as part of a team at a local LAN to put a pool together for like a WCG qualifier in Perth to then get to fly over to Sydney or Melbourne or Brisbane or wherever the fuck it was and try and like 16, guys. This is how old Donk is. 16. I don't know, man. I think... At some point, though, maybe they're all just phenoms. Maybe they're all just wild. I was going to say, at some point, these kids who are nuts, they're just not going to be able to cope. It's going to be too much. They're going to get homesick. Travel's going to be too much. Maybe they're all just...
Did you get homesick when you were at CGS?
No, I was 18, but all I wanted to do was the Counter-Strike. So I still see that, and that could be valid.
Yeah, so...
That could be valid.
I don't know. The weird one is Wonderful being swapped out.
Oh, yeah, he's in the breeze, huh?
Yeah, that's like you expect him to be probably picked up by someone eventually. Maybe he goes to Forza. I don't know what they're planning to do. Or
yeah, that's another interesting one.
Or if he would go there, it seems like Jerry missed out on the Cloud9 sweepstakes. It didn't seem like they were maybe interested. But yeah, for Spirit, I guess we'll have to see what happens. Another one is like OG. What do we think about this one?
I don't even know what
for
their
me,
lineup
it's
is
like
supposed
it's
to
like it's like all over the place. It's supposed to be.
Is this what Nexa wanted to come back
Nexa,
to?
Regali, Keto, and Fasher.
Ugh, that is a scatter shot.
Yeah, it's like.
Yeah.
I mean, they already. It feels like throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. But wasn't that like the last roster with Neofrag and Fiku being added and like?
I can't explain.
I don't know. I think Regali can be really good.
It's got to be a
like,
cheap roster.
It's yeah. I mean, but it's also like so many different pieces. Like, how are you going to be able to build chemistry with this team? I also to be honest, don't rate Fiku very highly.
No, he didn't show anything super great so far.
We haven't seen Nexa play in over 6 months?
Yeah.
No, there's nothing
like
about
the
this
first
roster that's
couple of
exciting to me.
tournaments of the year.
That's for sure.
It's kind of wild, right?
Yeah.
They got a couple of veterans in there, like in Keto and Fasher with Nexa coming back, and then you have like the young talents in Regali and Fiku, but maybe like if you would have swapped Fiku out for someone exciting in that rifle role, I'm trying to think of a like specific name I could give you guys, but
But you can't do
man.
it.
Like I just can't off the top of my head. Can't do it. I just can't, Jason.
No, I get it.
It's hard. The rosters. It's
oh,
not
hey,
anything.
but here's a name, Kakanito, who went to
Kakanito.
he went to
Apex, right?
Like he did that.
That was the one Christian told us about in Malta, Chad, yeah?
Yeah, one to look out for. So he's gone to Apex for
And
JL,
he played
and
with
that's
Kixon
JL's.
before.
Dude, this Navi roster, like, what's going on there? That's fucking insane. Like, isn't it? Am I insane?
It is. It's like probably the
I think
for
it's
a
awesome.
tier 1 team.
I think it's so cool.
It's like the biggest sort of surprise, like the biggest
I never would have seen this
the
one
biggest
coming.
like
Me neither.
U-turn, or I don't know how to call it, right? The biggest shift of change of direction for a lineup that since I don't know how far back we have to go, maybe from the Vitality thing, going from full French to adding the Danish guys. But the problem was that was like being leaked a little bit, you know, like we knew that was happening before it was official. This like just came out of the blue.
But also, like, I mean, it doesn't really. I'll be honest, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But also, like, maybe that potentially just caught completely off guard because the report coming out is that Perfecto and Electronic were the ones who wanted to leave. So this might just be an area where Navi was kind of forced to go for this. But I don't know. I think it's crazy. I didn't expect to see this group of names in a lineup ever in my life. But I do think it's so cool the way they've just been like, all right, fuck it, we're just gonna roll the dice on the 2 stars of Paris, or like the two of the names coming out of Paris that looked amazing, and we're just gonna see what fucking happens. Which is so funny to me.
It is crazy though. Like, it's such a gamble.
Yeah,
It's
and I
such-
still, to this day, I don't know what to think of Alexi. To be honest with you, I don't mean that in a bad way. I just don't know if I'm looking at this and I'm excited to see him have this kind of leadership for this kind of a team, or if it's kind of like, oh dear, what's going on there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see what it looks like. That's something that I can tell you truthfully. I'm interested to see what type of Counter-Strike it looks like they're going to play, and not only that, the dynamic of the team, because this is like Navi at no point ever struck me as the type of team that would go in this direction.
Yeah.
So the fact that they felt that they've had to is huge in itself, and then to see what they're going to put together is going to also be interesting, because it's not going to be the native tongue for Simple anymore, right? It's going to now have to be doing things in English, which can be quite frustrating. You can see from the adjustment. And I think Vitality, they're a good example. They're a team who are at the top now, who admitted to the difficulties of adjusting to speaking English, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a factor that we can't overlook, underlook, through the look, looking through the glass.
Overlook.
And yeah, it's just something that we need to make sure we keep in the back of our minds as a consideration here. But yeah, I wanted it all to kind of be out in the wash, because I think even though a lot of these quote unquote leaks or sources or whatever that have come out have ended up being true, or some part of the truth, I just want to get to the end product so we can talk about it with certainty. But I guess I am just talking about it.
Well, I think this is
because it always.
I
seems
think
to
the
happen.
certainty here is that this is the roster they're signed up with towards Blast, right? I think all 5 of these guys.
so I
So, I
guess-
mean, it is at least certain.
But Blast never normally give that shit out beforehand. So how have people gotten their grubby little mitts on that? Maybe they asked.
Maybe, is it public?
Because Blast like to do that. Blast really like to
think
do that
it's- I
stuff
think
where
it's-
they put the hype
I think
on
it's
that shit.
public, isn't it?
Is it?
I think like journalists get a hold of it even at even at ESL events.
Well, is that public? I
Maybe
guess it
not
is
like
Is that
public accessible on a website, but like public in the sense that like nobody hides it. It comes out once rosters are confirmed. I
Okay.
think I
All
could
right.
be wrong.
Interesting. I don't know if there was a source for that. I would
It
love
was.
to-
I
I'd
think it
love
was.
to-
I think
to
it was
see
Overdrive tweeted out that was their Blast roster. I could be wrong.
Okay,
I'll check.
Overdrive the
check.
journalist.
It was on Dust 2 US.
Oh, was it Dust 2?
Dust to US. Well, how do they know? Get your friend Ryan on the phone, Jason. You probably live next door.
Yeah,
to them,
right around
I
the
reckon.
corner, really.
Yeah. Oh, bloody
That's
hell!
a lot.
What a time to be
Yeah,
alive.
EG, OG, and Navi rosters confirmed for Blast. Cool.
Submarines, roster changes, podcasts. It's all going on.
Yeah.
It's all happening, isn't it?
Fang open to international offers.
I like how you just
See?
slid that one in.
submarines. Yeah, it's been all the rage. It's all anyone's
It's
talking
crazy.
It
about.
was a
Bloody
wild
submarines.
3 days, wasn't it?
It's crazy what they'll do, what they'll try and occupy your brain with, just so you don't think about
think.
things that matter actually.
Yeah.
Like, why would I care about 5 people being stuck? I mean, this sounds like very
They
cruel.
got the world,
but,
Janko. They got the
but
whole world.
like, I mean, why is that global news? 5 guys being in a submarine and we don't hear for them. It's like 5 people in a car die every probably 10 minutes, or something.
Don't let Rush hear this.
bless.
The guy's last name was Rush. He'll be really upset.
Yeah, it's just like once you figure out that all of this is mostly being done to distract you from things that matter, like, I don't know why anyone pays attention to the news in that extent like anymore. You should just, like, for the things that interest you and that matter to you, like, do a little bit of your own research and you will be much better off. Like, it's just everything's a charade at this point. Like, they pretty much knew on the day, like, what happened to it, and then they just kept sort of, like, milking that news cycle as much as possible, right?
Mate, there was a Twitter account saying how much oxygen was left in the
Yeah,
fucking
going every
submarine.
hour.
I did send this. I did send this
to
to Jason or something. Like there was this, like, where in that week, Celine Dion, "My Heart Will Go On" was like the 4th most played, like, track on Spotify,
And I think
or something. And
I think Netflix announced they're bringing Titanic back for a run.
it's like we're all going to hell. Like, that was the comment for it. Like, we're all collectively going to hell. It's like.
There was 2 things next to each other on Netflix when I went to bang it on the other day, like in the recommended, and one of them was to do with submarines. And I forgot what the other was to do with, but it was some other, like, fucking topical thing that was going on. I was like, what?
I guarantee you that someone
Maybe it was
announces, like,
trending
a
now.
documentary on this entire excursion. Like,
Oh, no, of course.
that shit just gets cranked into content so fast nowadays.
Man, we have just became the fucking office water cooler tour.
know.
I never thought we'd ever be there, but we've just done it. We are. I told you, Jason, you were in touch with the common man. We just fucking got
we
there.
did.
We just got there right then. We've
Worked
made
it all
it.
the way
Jason
back.
is the common man.
I am.
Jason is the definition of the common man.
I don't know. Is that a good thing?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. I think Rush is the definition of the common man.
That lower
I don't
rat.
think Jason's. Jason's like, I don't know. He's something different.
He's more than
I don't know
that.
what he
Okay.
is.
More
Yeah,
than common.
we can't boil you down to that.
Sure.
We can't boil you down to that, Jason. But lads, are we donezo? We have juice. We've been going for 2 hours and 6
I got
minutes.
a meeting in 8 minutes.
All right.
Oh, okay.
so-
So he was looking for an hour anyway. I just
Yeah,
gave
you
him
did.
the
I
hour.
was gonna have to bring it up like pretty soon here, so I'm glad you spared me that.
This fucking guy. All right. Well, let's get
Okay.
out of here.
Let's wrap it up.
All right. Well,
Oh,
GG's.